We can also talk about the Royal Rumble predictions video that dropped, and also just a bit of request social media wise. So there's lots of bits for us to get our teeth into. We are going to put the clock up. I know we don't always follow it, but I am going to try and follow it this week because my voice is still recovering from the UFC stream, so it might give out a few times, but it's because it's still recovering after that kind of 8-hour, pretty intense UFC 297 stream that we did. I do want to say a big thank you to everyone that joined us for that. Really appreciated, because it was a big stream, of course, and the channel lives and dies by those big streams, and so it was just good to be back doing big streams again. I mean, it's been a little while, to be honest, because there wasn't anything really since the boxing, since we did Joshua and the Day of Reckoning and that show. Obviously there's no WWE premium live event in December. We didn't do AEW World's End because that now is something that Tommy covers, so really there just hasn't been anything. So to get back doing like a big UFC show was good to do. I don't think my voice is quite used to it, so it's going to need to get back into the swing, but it was probably really good preparation for this weekend's Royal Rumble. So my plan is to actually set that stream up as soon as I'm done with this, so you will be able to see when the Rumble is going to start, and as we said, it will start well before the kickoff show. So if you are going to be joining us for the Royal Rumble stream, the watch along, we will be live hours before the kickoff show. We will then go through the kickoff show, through the event itself, and then I'll be working on putting reaction videos out, and of course doing an unseen for the Royal Rumble. Right, I really want to get to the chat, but we've got to talk about a couple of things first, right? We've got to talk about Raw, and we've got to talk about R-Truth. So what I'm going to do is just go down Raw. We'll touch on, not R-Truth, we'll touch on Cody because he's in the thumbnail, and then we'll get to the chat and we'll work our way through everything else. So let's get the timer going. So the timer is underway, an hour on the clock, and so yeah, massive Raw tomorrow. We've got an absolutely huge Raw. It is unmissable. You cannot miss Raw tomorrow. Like, I know it's a go home, and I know that it might seem like I don't need to watch it, it's just going to be the final touches for the Rumble. I get it, but some of these segments are monstrous, right? They are absolutely huge. You know me, I've said it before. If I don't think it's going to be good, I will tell you I don't think it's going to be good. If I think it's going to be so-so, I will say it looks like a so-so episode. This looks unmissable, right? First of all, Seth Rollins is opening the show to tell us what his future is going to look like. We might have Seth Rollins vacate the title at the very beginning of Raw, or he could turn around and say that he's got to go away for a few weeks, but he's going to be okay, right? We know what the injury is. We just don't know how severe the injury is. That's the problem. It could be anything from 4 weeks to 12 weeks. It could be anything from missing the Rumble to missing WrestleMania. So we don't know where it's going to fall in that bracket, right? I think, knowing the powers of recovery of these wrestlers, I think Seth will make it to WrestleMania, right? That's my sneaky guess. But it doesn't mean that they're going to allow him to remain champion, right? I think he's probably out. If it's 4 to 12 weeks, let's go in the middle and say it's 8 weeks, right? Let's just go for the middle number. So let's say it's 8 weeks that he's going to be out for. That would mean that he's back for WrestleMania, but are WWE going to want him missing 8 weeks of WrestleMania build, WrestleMania season? Are they going to want their champ missing that? Maybe they will. Maybe they'll be all right with it because it's too important. They've got to do Seth CM Punk. It's got to have the belt involved, or whatever the story they've got planned is. Maybe they'll go, no, we've got to keep the belt on him. But maybe it's an opportunity for them to take the belt off him, for him to not lose, So, you know, it's always good when a champion loses a title like this and isn't beaten, because it means that when they return from injury, they are the unbeaten champion. Look at CM Punk. You know, he was champ. He got suspended. He came back with the real AEW World Championship. And I thought that was kind of an interesting story where he was, you know, proclaiming himself to be the real champion. And it made sense. And I kind of don't mind that. So all the options are on the table right now. It could be that we don't strip him. It could be that we do strip him. It could be that he does make WrestleMania. It could be that he doesn't make WrestleMania. There's no hints or anything at the moment as to which way this is going. I haven't seen anything about where this is going. That segment is unmissable. It is going to potentially change WrestleMania season. It could even change the Rumble if the Rumble is going to be for the belts. So that's why Seth opening Raw is a massive segment. Next up, Drew versus Damian Priest. Now, I know what you're thinking. It'd be all right, yeah. But they are making a big deal of this. Triple H himself has sent out a tweet saying, like, you know, this is personal, and really building it up. Like, they are really trying to make this a big deal. They are really trying to build up this encounter. WWE seem to want to make this like a big focus, and it is true that these two have been circling around each other for a while. It is true that they've been getting in each other's way. So clearly WWE want this to be treated as not just another match. I've got the window capture here. Hostility has been building for months, and tomorrow night it all boils over when Drew and the Archer of Infamy step into the ring. This match is personal, and it's going down tomorrow. That is from Triple H. Triple H actually tweeting that out. And obviously there's the Seth news, and then again, WWE putting a message out themselves about this encounter. And then we scroll up a little bit further, and I think there's a graphic for it as well. There we go. It's personal. McIntyre goes one-on-one with the Archer of Infamy tomorrow. So they really are hyping this one up. They really are making it a big deal. So, and it is, you know, two big names. I mean, you're talking about the monster of the Judgment Day taking on Drew McIntyre, who obviously is running amok at the moment. The other segment, we just saw the graphic for it. I might as well keep this up. Look at this. Cody Rhodes saying, I know what we should talk about. Oh my God. Cody Rhodes and CM Punk face to face in a ring on Raw. Oh my God. What are they going to talk about? They're going to talk about how they both need to finish their story and how they both need to win the Royal Rumble. And I mean, what if it comes down to those two? What if it is CM Punk, Cody? I don't know that they would do that, to be honest, because you're going to split the crowds. I thought about this during the prediction video. You're going to split the crowds, and I don't know that that's the right thing to do. I feel like you should probably come down to like Gunther and CM Punk, and I also think that Cody should be eliminated by whatever his next feud is going to be, because clearly even if he is going to face Roman, clearly we're not going to move to that just yet. He's going to need to do something else in the meantime until we get to the Roman match, because there's going to be some, if you do the Roman match, there'll be some face-to-faces, there'll be some conversations, but I can't see there being loads of back and forth. I think it'll be a case that we'll need him just to do something else, and maybe whoever eliminates him could be that person, or maybe it's someone he eliminates could be that person. The big thing about the Rumble is that there's lots of stories that come out of it. It's not just about who wins. It's not about who wins. Well, it is, but it's not just about that. People that eliminate people then get into feuds. You know, I think Gunther and Brock could get into a feud at the Rumble, and that might be how it builds towards their match at WrestleMania if they compete at WrestleMania. So lots to get your teeth into, lots to be excited about. Those two are definitely going to talk about both of them needing to win the Royal Rumble. And then the other thing that they've announced is Ivar against Chad Gable. Not as exciting, but still an interesting encounter. The final thing I want to talk about until I jump in the chat is this. It is the thumbnail that we've got for this video. And I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, right? I don't give a flip who is on the cover of this game. It absolutely baffles me why this is a thing. I have no idea why this is a thing. This never used to be a thing where it mattered who was on the cover of the game. I don't know. I think this is something video game companies are doing to hype up their games, basically. They're making this massive deal about who's on the... It doesn't matter. Who cares? I don't give a flip if they put Bastion Booger on there. I don't care if they put the Brooklyn Brawler on there, right? Who cares? It's not an achievement, like nothing. This has never been a thing, but it is clearly a thing now. I can't say it's not a thing when so many people seem to be engaged in the conversation as to who's going to be on the cover. Well, it's got to be Bray. It's got to be Bray. No, it's got to be Cody. No, come on, there's no one bigger than Roman. Oh, no, it's got to be a woman. You can't not have a woman. Who cares? Put Doink on there for all I'm bothered. So, yeah, I don't get this. I'm a boomer. This is clearly passed me by. But I can't really sit here and say it doesn't matter when it seems to matter to so many people. Back in the day, it used to matter to me what the special edition was going to be, and the reason why that mattered was because you always got like a signature, or you always got some merch. So if the special edition of the game was going to be The Undertaker, then you would get Undertaker's autograph in the special edition, or it would come in like a casket-shaped box. Like, it actually mattered. It actually meant something. You actually, like, you know, if they announced that Hogan was the special edition, then you might get a Hogan pop vinyl, which I think you did. You might get Hogan's autograph, which, again, I think you did. And so it actually mattered. You actually got something if you bought the special edition. This, who's going to be on the cover and all this arguing I'm seeing online... Don't get it. I'm a boomer, mate. I'm a boomer. It's passed me by. But this is the image that's doing the rounds. This is the image that people are passionately caring about. And it is this checklist. You might remember when Cody left WWE. Maybe some of you don't. But when Cody left WWE to go on to ventures new, he had a checklist of people he wanted to face, and it was just like this. It was a black and white picture with a list of names that he wanted to compete against on a table. And I don't know if he ticked them all off, actually. It'd be quite interesting to go back and find that. So I don't know if he did manage to tick them all off. But here you can see a new checklist. It says, return to WWE, that's been crossed off. Win the Rumble, that's been crossed off. Main event WrestleMania, that's been crossed off. Conquer the Beast, that's been crossed off. What's that? Launch Pharaoh merch. That's been crossed off. Pharaoh's his dog. Can I just say, I think he has only just written this. Because if this was a list he wrote originally, why would you not win the title after main event WrestleMania? Like, return to WWE, win the Rumble, main event Mania. Surely then it should say win the title. Because if you win the Rumble and you challenge the champ at WrestleMania, the next thing you should do is win the title, finish the story. So this list has only just been written. He's actually written down things he's already achieved just to make himself look good. Jesus. Anyway, we've got WWE 2K24 cover star. That was his dream all along. So he thought to himself, I need to return to WWE, and the game that I want to be the cover star of is the 24 one. If they put me on the cover of 2K23, I'm going to kick off. If they try and put me on the cover of 2K25, honestly, there's going to be a massacre. But it needs to be 24. It's not ticked off yet. but this has been tweeted out by 2K24, and I don't think you put this out there unless he's going to be the cover star. Could you imagine if he's not now? This means a lot to Cody. It's on the same list as winning the Rumble. It's on the same list as finishing the story. It's on the same list as launching Pharaoh merch. So this is important. So 2K24 cover star. Then we've got win the title and finish the story. Is that not the same thing? When he wins the title, the WWE Championship, does he not finish the story? Is he doing what I like to do? And that is make my jobs list look longer so that when I do one job, I can tick off about 5 things at the same time. Because if he wins the title, surely he finishes the story as well. I've got big problems with this list, you know. I've got big problems with this list. But this is the list that has been tweeted out by Cody. And he is ready to get another one of those boxes ticked off, and that should be in a few hours' time. So he is surely going to be the cover star. As I said, if it's not the person you wanted, honestly, I just don't even think about it. It doesn't matter. I don't know if they still do special editions, and if they do special editions, I don't know if they're physical things anymore. I mean, I am so out of the loop with games, but as I said, going back to like 2K15, right, going back like 9 years ago, 2K16 or whatever, that was what the big thing was. Who was gonna be the special edition so that you could get the autograph and everything. I don't know if they still do that. If they do, then that'll be interesting. I don't know if it'll be Cody, and if it'll come with like bits and merch and everything, but I don't know. I don't even know if they still do that. I know the physical market is in decline, isn't it? So probably knowing games these days, you just get a load of in-game points and stuff like this, because they love to get you to spend extra money on in-game purchasing and all that kind of stuff. So knowing special editions these days, it's probably not cool autographs and stuff like that. It's probably unlock this skin, which you probably should have been allowed to add from the beginning. These companies, man, they know how to get you. They know how to get you. So yeah, that is the big news. That is the big excitement, is that it looks like Cody is going to be the cover star. But they could, I mean, I know that with the basketball they do like a legacy edition. So as I said, it doesn't mean that Bray still might not feature as the cover star of that. I'm sure there's going to be, you know, I mean, the cover will be everywhere, and the, you know, all the info will be everywhere. So we'll see what comes out with that later. Right, so there we go. We can talk about R-Truth in a bit. I've got the video for that. We can talk about any Rumble bits you want to as well. And a big thank you to everyone that watched the predictions. I really tried with that video. Normally I do it as a short, and I'm still going to do a short. But I know that people enjoy longer discussion videos as well, because I do. So I'm thinking of doing both. So the longer one went out. I haven't even done the shorter one yet. It'll be the same info, but just in a minute, so that I can put it as a YouTube short and put it on TikTok and whatever. So I've still got to work on that. But yeah, appreciate all the feedback and the support, and yeah, really good. It was really well received. I made it straight after UFC, so it took a few attempts because my voice kept giving out on me. So it was a little bit of a challenge. It also meant that I ended up going to bed late, which is why I'm up late, which is why this stream is late. So it also had a bit of a knock-on effect in that regard as well. But I thought it was worth doing. I thought it was worth getting out there, and the comments that I've been reading have been really interesting. People giving their thoughts as to which way they think it's going to go. And I think the one thing that's really struck me is the fact that there's so many options on the table. Sometimes you can go into the Rumble with like a dead cert, and you really do know which way things are going. And I just don't think that's the case this year, because we don't know if it's Rock Roman, and we don't know if it's Roman Cody, or we don't know if it's not going to be a triple threat, or if they're not going to do 2 nights. And we don't know what's happening with Seth. And so that means we don't know what's happening with CM Punk. And Gunther was the favorite before CM Punk came back. So Gunther is still in the mix. I think he's still the second favorite to win the Rumble. Cody was, as of about a week ago, third favorite. It was CM Punk first, then Gunther, then Cody. So you've got Gunther in the mix as well, because everyone's expecting him to move up to that world heavyweight level very, very soon, that world title level. So yeah, this is one of the most interesting Rumble builds I've ever seen, because there are legitimately 3 or 4 people that could win this, and I don't know what the main event of WrestleMania is, which makes it very difficult to book. You know, I don't know if it's Rock Roman. I don't know if it's Roman Cody. I don't know if it's going to be a triple threat. I don't know if they're doing both matches but on different nights. I don't know, which means that it makes predicting the Rumble very, very difficult. Very, very difficult. But in a very good way as well, because this is how it should be. This is what wrestling should be. It shouldn't be that the dirt sheets find stuff out and we already know who's winning and we already know where it's going. Like, I know people might be a bit frustrated at not knowing, and you know, I wish we had a better idea of this and that and whatever, but this is what it should be, and we should be enjoying this. I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying the not knowing, the speculating, the having conversations about, I think they'll do this, I think they'll do that, what if they do this, what if they do that. If the dirt sheets came out and said, listen, looks like it's going to be such and such, pretty much banged on, nailed on, it just ruins it, doesn't it? Just ruins it. So as I said, just sit back, relax, and enjoy the flow. So with that being said, let's jump over to the chat. I saw a super chat come through. We'll do that, then we'll get to the comments. Defcon Prime, shout out to you. Said, my fantasy prediction would be that Priest cashes in the Money in the Bank during Seth's announcement and wins. Transitional champion angle moving forwards. It solves the stale Money in the Bank situation. Okay. How do I feel about that? I don't mind it. I don't mind it. I don't feel like I love it, and I don't feel like I hate it. I just don't mind it. I think that Seth is potentially having to announce that he's going to have to vacate the title anyway. I don't know, I suppose it's tricky, that, because if he's going to say, I'm vacating the title, well, that's because he's injured. And so, like, them cashing in at that moment, I mean, I suppose they can do it, because you can cash in at any moment, and they're a heel, so why would they care? And if they cash in just before he vacates it, that means he doesn't actually vacate it. So from a technical point of view, it can all be done, it's all fine. But there's something not right about them cashing in on someone that's not down and out. You know, if you cash in during the end of a match and the person has been beaten up and they're slumped in the corner and they're all, and then, oh my god, here they come down, like that moment is like, oh my god, here it's happening, he's choosing now. Whereas Seth standing in the ring saying that he is gonna have to go away for a while because of injury or whatever, he is vulnerable, but he's not vulnerable in the same way, is he? He's not slumped in the corner after just having a match. So he's kind of like just standing there as they make their way down to the ring. And I don't know I don't know. I mean, they can jump him. The Judgment Day could attack him from behind and then Damien come down and cash it in. So, I mean, there are ways that you can do it. But to be honest, I think I would rather we put it in the Rumble. If he is going to vacate it, I think I would rather the winner of the Rumble get it rather than allow Damien to cash in. It's a really interesting conversation. If you would genuinely prefer Damien to cash in during the announcement, then that's cool. That's your prerogative. I think for me, I would rather it go in the Rumble. I think any time that you can have the Rumble be not for the chance to compete for the title, but actually win the title, it makes the Rumble just even more exciting, because the winner's going to be a champ, and there's 30 guys that could get it. There's 30 people that could be the brand new champion. You know, anyone could win it. Sammy could win the Rumble and be champion. This time next week, we could have R-Truth as the world champion. Like, all of a sudden, it opens it up to 30 people that are in the Rumble now could become champion on Saturday night. And I just think that's more exciting than Damian coming down and cashing in during Seth's thing. So I personally would go that way rather than using Damian. But the Damian cashing in is an option. It's definitely something that they could look to do. Again, this just goes to cement as to why Raw is unmissable, because there are curveballs like that could occur. You're not wrong. The Rumble video was good, but where was the LOL video, said Crispy Chris. Yeah, I appreciate that. So the LOL videos, I've just got a problem with them at the moment. I said this, I think it was in last week's stream. I love doing them, and actually I've got loads ready to go. I mean, they're recorded, they're edited, they just need uploading. So it's not even a case that I haven't got any to upload. They're there and they're waiting. The problem I've got is that 4 of them now have been hit with copyright. So 2 of them have been blocked in... No, well, actually, 2 have been blocked in 7 countries. But they're countries that don't really make up many views. One of them is India, Bangladesh, Pakistan. I think they've got like different rules in these countries when it comes to copyright. And so 2 of the previous LOL videos have been banned in those countries. 2 of the videos have been banned everywhere. They've been took off because obviously I use little footage clips, but they are always really short. I mean, the kind of things that you see in many, many other videos on YouTube, they're always kept very short. And yeah, it's just one of them, you know, if the system picks them up, then, you know, you get hit with them. So the problem I've got now is I have videos to upload, but there's not really much point in uploading them if they're going to just get hit with copyright and blocked. So I've now got to go back into the videos to then review them and potentially change the stuff that's in there. And oh my God, I mean, all of a sudden now it's just a brand new job. So that's why it's all slowed. So there hasn't been a LOL video in about 10 days. Because to be perfectly truthful, what with the build towards the Rumble and things that have been going on, I haven't had a chance to get back in and re-edit those LOL videos. So they're still a part of the channel. I will get to them when I can get to them is the answer. The frustrating thing is I made a load so that I could just keep churning them out and that there would be this ready supply. And now, you know, sod's law, spanner in the works, means that I've now got to go back and re-look at them. So that's the problem, you know, when you get people going, oh, why don't you show the footage and all this kind of stuff. I don't think people realize like how like insane it is to make content on YouTube. How like, I mean, you've seen like Botchamania get its channel shut down how many times now? So like even just little tiny clips, not even like, you know, a minute of footage, we're talking like 8-10 seconds of footage, even that can get flagged. So it's just an algorithm that goes around and highlights these things. Thankfully, you know, these blocks are just the videos have been removed. It hasn't resulted in any damage to the channel. There's no strikes on the channel or anything, so there's no problems there. But it is the case that those videos got reviewed. So, yeah, when I can get to them, I'll get to them. But to be perfectly truthful, this week is very much Royal Rumble, focused on Saturday and trying to deliver as much kind of content as we can in regards to the build to the Rumble. So, you know, obviously we've got Raw. That's going to be a big episode. I know the Unseen video is going to be big after. And then, you know, Tuesday we've got NXT. And I'll try and do an Unseen video after that. Wednesday, Thursday, I'm going to try and get some videos onto the channel I really want to get more videos on. Certainly now we don't do AEW on a Wednesday. I'm going to try and get some more videos onto the channel. They might be like 5. One of the ideas I had was 5 things Triple H needs to do at the Rumble show. 5 things he's got to book, right? You've got to do this, Triple H. This is what you need to do at the Rumble. So I was going to do that as one of the videos. But again, I'm open to ideas. Feel free to drop any suggestions into comments or ping them over as an email. That's quite a good way, actually. Email's quite good. I don't get tons of emails. So if you do have like some feedback or questions in regards to the channel, if you've got questions in regards to wrestling, I'm sure we'll get to them on one of the many streams. But if you've got like feedback for the channel, questions for the channel, video ideas, stuff like that, I'd say my email is always open. Watson said, if the Rumble is for the belt, then surely it would be the main event, or would Roman still be the main? I think it would depend as to what's happening. So there is an idea floating around that The Rock could make his presence felt after Roman retains. And the reason why I say Roman retains is because currently the odds have got him as heavy favorite to retain. So the general consensus is that's the direction it's going. It might not go that way, but the general consensus is that's the direction it's going. And I think if The Rock is going to confront Roman, that is what you end the show with. You know, Rock and Roman in a ring face to face. That's what people have been waiting years for. So that's what you end the show on. It's sad because clearly if the Rumble is for the belt, then, you know, whoever gets that title, that should be the end of the show. But I think that you could make the argument if there is anything bigger than that, it probably is Rock Roman. I mean, Rock came back and, what was it, 150 million social media views for his just comment of, shall I sit at the head of the table? So can you imagine what that'll do when it's them two in a ring face to face, building to WrestleMania or building to whenever their match is? So I think it really depends as to what they've got planned. If it's just going to be Roman retains and that's it, put it on before the Rumble. If it's going to be Roman loses the belt, you know, that's going to be such a big moment. It's probably going to have to go after the Rumble. And if it's Roman retains and The Rock confronts, after the Rumble as well. So yeah, it's a tricky one, that I don't think you can. The only way I think you can read into it is if we hear the Rumble is last. I feel pretty confident if the Rumble is going to be the last thing on the show, I feel pretty confident Roman's not losing. And it might also indicate that The Rock is not going to be in appearance. So that might be that that's why we do the Rumble last. Wasn't it last year that actually the final image we saw was the Roman match? I think I'm right in saying that the Sammy moment where he finally hit Roman with the chair. I think I'm right in saying that was after the Rumble. So again, you know, you're going to want your most significant thing to be the final thing. So that's why the match order will matter, yes. Trina said Nakamura should eliminate Cody from the Rumble to finish what he's been saying and get heat. Cody thinks his dream is over, but wins the #1 contenders match in the Chamber to earn his chance. Thoughts? I agree that Nakamura should eliminate him, or it should be whoever his next feud is. I like Nakamura doing it because I think he needs something back. He's lost to Seth, he's lost to Cody. I think you need to give him something. So him being the one to break Cody's heart and break the heart of the fans is worth giving him, to be honest. I don't think Cody wins the Rumble, so yeah, someone's got to eliminate him, so why not make it Nakamura? The only reason I would say not Nakamura is if we're going to have it be someone else, and then that's going to be Cody's next feud. In regards to Cody winning the Chamber, well, this is where it gets a bit problematic, because if it's going to be Roman Cody, well, then you can go in that direction. But if it's going to be Roman Rock and actually Cody isn't finishing his story until SummerSlam, well, then you can't have Cody win the Chamber. So I think this is where it gets a bit difficult as to, well, what do you do with Cody then? What do you do with Cody? What does Cody do? There is a concern I've got that we are going to do CM Punk against Cody at WrestleMania. I've got a little worry about that. And the reason why I worry about that is because I think that may be for the title, for Seth's title. And I don't want Cody anywhere near that belt. That is not the belt he needs. We keep saying it. And I think most people are in agreement. But he needs, no Rhodes has ever won a world title in WWE. That is a world title. So in many people's mind, him winning that would be the end of the story. And I tweeted this out. I tweeted out that if he wins that World Heavyweight Championship, the one Seth's got, my concern is that people are going to look at that as the story being completed, when in my mind, it isn't. The story that Cody told after WrestleMania 38 on Raw was of his dad, Dusty, competing for the WWE Championship, which obviously back then was the I think it was WWF, but might have been WWF. But for that belt, right? And it was the belt, the only big belt in the company at the time. And he was competing against superstar Billy Graham, and he won the match, and he won by countout. And obviously the belt doesn't change hands by countout. So there is a picture of Dusty holding up the WWF Championship from the late 70s, having just won the match against superstar Billy Graham, who was champ at the time, by countout. And Cody told the story about how he said, I didn't know that you was champion, just like Hulk Hogan. And Dusty had to explain, I won the match, but I didn't get the belt. But that is a picture of the closest I got to it, basically. And so Cody said that from the age of 8, he wanted to win that belt and hand it to his dad, so that his dad got even closer to it, because his son has won it for him. This is yours. This is for you. I've brought it for you. To me, a belt that they've just created last year does not achieve that. A belt that's come out of thin air last year is not the belt that Dusty was competing for. That's not the belt that is in the picture. The belt that Cody needs is Roman's belt. To finish the story, he needs that belt. And I'm just worried, and I don't think I would be alone in being worried about this. I think WWE have got this concern as well, because I don't think this was the plan. But if Seth is injured and he's got to vacate the title, CM Punk is still going to main event night 1, I'm sure of it. And he's going to need an opponent. And if you're doing Rock Roman on night 2, how do you not have Cody in the main event of night 1? So my concern is that we're heading towards CM Punk versus Cody Rhodes. And I don't like it, because it doesn't complete the story. It just muddies the water. It just makes it a bit confusing. Because to some people, they will argue, no, the story's done. To me, it's not. And I do worry that when the story does get completed, because I'm sure it will be, it's not going to hit the same, because a Rhodes has already won a world title. It's kind of like we're taking some of the magic away. If we do have Cody win that belt, we're taking some of the magic away from when that moment does happen. I suppose what you could do is you could have CM Punk win at WrestleMania, so Cody doesn't get his hands on that World Heavyweight Championship. So it could be CM Punk against Cody. CM Punk wins, right? And Cody. But I've got to think that Cody is going to talk about like how this would be finishing the story. I feel like they're going to try and change the narrative now. When Cody has sort of hinted in interviews that winning that world heavyweight title wouldn't be finishing the story, if he now finds himself in a situation where he has to compete for it at WrestleMania 40 because the company needs him to, because the company's in a situation where we're doing Rock Roman and we want you to be in the main event and we're going to put you in the main event in night one, but it's going to have to be for this belt instead. I'm just worried they're going to start changing the narrative and they're just going to start trying to convince us of a different story when I feel like I know what the story is. I know what he's trying to achieve. And he came, you know, he went after Roman for that belt last year and fell short. So him falling short to Roman and then winning the runner-up prize, it's just going to take a bit of that allure away from me. So I don't know. Him winning the chamber, I mean, it really does depend, doesn't it, as what the plan is. What I would say is that if it's not Rock Roman, and it feels like it's going to be, but if it's not Rock Roman, then I think that we do Roman Cody, and I wouldn't have him win the chamber because I think I would, and I've said this before, delay it. I would delay it. I think a lot of people are thinking if Cody doesn't win the Rumble, he gets there through the chamber. Well, what if he doesn't? What if I make you think that that's what we're going to do, and then I swerve you? So what if I make you think that the winner of the chamber is going to get that opportunity, and then I find a way of swerving you? I mean, there's ways that I could do that. I could have someone win the chamber to compete against Roman, and then I could have that person get injured. And then all of a sudden, we're going to have to do a gauntlet match on SmackDown to find the new challenger for Roman. And all of a sudden, Cody is back in the game. I would tell the person that won the chamber as well. Internet connected to the internet. Are we back? Yes, we're back. Yeah. There we go. That looks good. That looks good. Yeah, there's a bit of bad weather around, to be honest, so I did wonder if we might get a little bit of lag. Thankfully, we've managed to avoid it, but we should be on a pretty good... I say pretty good. It still looks a little bit wobbly, but hopefully it holds. We'll keep an eye on it. But yeah, the point I was making was I would try... do we need to drop the quality? I'll keep an eye on it. It keeps coming in and coming out. That's what she said. Yeah, the point I was making was that I would try to not go the obvious route. So I completely agree. Don't have him win the Rumble. But then what I would say is, you know, do people then expect him to win the Elimination Chamber? What if he doesn't? What then? You know, can you find a way of swerving it and kicking that can a little bit further down the road so that people really are starting to second guess themselves? Because I think if you can get people to really be doubting that Cody is going to be finishing the story at WrestleMania and then he goes on to do that, I think that's quite clever. So, yeah, I'd try and kick the can as far down the road as I could. I'd really, really try and push it. I'd really try and pull out some stunts so that it really felt like it wasn't going to happen. And then, boom, here we go. We get the match with, like, a week to go or 2 weeks to go, you know? Because the thing with WrestleMania is WrestleMania will always sell itself. Tickets for WrestleMania just sell, you know? People will tune into WrestleMania because it's WrestleMania. So you don't need to worry so much about hyping and promoting and all that kind of stuff. I think you can, we live in an age with social media where you can get that message out quite quickly. So I wouldn't worry too much about like booking Rock Roman months and months in advance and promoting it. That wouldn't be a concern for me. I've got no problem with booking the main event like quite close to the event because you're going to have so much good stuff, and it's WrestleMania 40. You know, you can easily make some other announcements that's going to grab attention, you know, which is going to get people's interest anyway. And plus, who's not going to watch WrestleMania 40? Even if you are just the most casual of wrestling fans, this is definitely a show not to miss. So it's very exciting, isn't it? Shakeem said 480p time, it might have to be. It might have to be. Although it is holding at the moment, so that's good news. Right. CT Dingo said if Seth doesn't relinquish, Chamber won't have either main champion at the show. That's pretty poor look for the international market, especially when the Chamber will have close to 60,000. Good point. Yeah. That's a good point. If he doesn't relinquish, I mean, I don't know exactly when Elimination Chamber is, so he could be out anywhere between 4 to 12 weeks is what we're expecting, and we don't know what that number's going to be. So if it's the lower end of 4 weeks, would he make it? I genuinely don't know. I can have a look, but I am a bit worried about the internet. Let's have a look and see when the Chamber actually is, what the date is. Is it early in February or is it a late in February? It's the 24th. So even if it's the low end, I mean, that's going to be, you're right, probably a no. Because what's that, 7/14, 28. So, yeah, 4 weeks, even if it's 4 weeks for him to... You could fly him over, I suppose, to have him do a talk show segment. If it was 4 weeks till he was back wrestling, I wonder if you could have him on a Grayson Waller effect, just to have him there. But you're right, the fact that he wouldn't be able to compete is going to be a problem. But I wonder if you could still have him in attendance. You know, I'm sure you can use CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, Gunther, Becky, Rhea. You know, I'm sure you've got enough star power there where you can put on some great matches to please the fans. But I don't disagree. Not having Roman and not having Seth there would be bad. It would be bad. But, you know, maybe unavoidable, unfortunately. If they are adamant that they know what they want to do with Seth, as we said, maybe it would be unavoidable. Why do you want to appear? Who do you want to appear in the 2K24 game? Cody Rhodes, Rhea Ripley, Charlotte, Undertaker, Sammy, Kevin Owens, said Jeffrey. I don't care. I don't play the game, to be honest. So, I mean, if you're asking who do I want to be in the game, I'm pretty sure everyone that's on the roster will be in the game. So I can't imagine that we won't have Cody, Rhea, Charlotte, Sammy, Kevin in the game. And they always put legends in as well. And it's always normally quite a good helping of legends. So I'd imagine Undertaker will be in there. I'd imagine Triple H will be in there. I'd imagine Shawn Michaels will be in there. Like, you know, Andre the Giant, I'm sure will make it. To be honest, I suppose the bigger question would be, who could they put in that would really excite me? Because I would expect all of those. They tend to be in every year. Who could they put in that would get me to buy it? And to be honest, I think the answer to that would be if they was to do like the early days of Raw and, like, you know, have the Manhattan Center in there, which I don't know if that is a playable space, but that's where Raw first started, in the Manhattan Center in New York. So if that was a playable arena and they had people like Doink the Clown in there, and they had people like, I don't know, Kamala and Crush, and maybe some of those people from like 92, 93, 94. I mean, if you had people from 94, at least then you can tie it in, because that's 30 years ago. So maybe you have Lex Luger. I'm sure Bret Hart will be in the game. I don't know if he's under a Legends deal at the moment, but I'm guessing he is. Maybe if it was stuff like that, that would grab my interest. But yeah, to be honest, I think if they're on the roster, I would expect them to be in the game. You know, we're at the point now where gone are the days where the roster reveal was a thing. Well, actually, I don't even know. Maybe it's still a thing, but it used to be a thing because games were very limited with their space. So the roster only used to be like 50 people. And so that meant there were people on the roster that didn't make it. So knowing who was going to be in the game and what legends they were going to include this time, right? That was a thing. But I don't think it's a thing anymore because the game now just has so many characters. How many playable characters are there in 2K23? That's an interesting question. 2K23. playable wrestlers. Full list of legends and superstars. Is there a number? Is there a number? Here you can find a full list of people in the game. The following people have been added. Well, I don't have a number, but I can show you what I'm looking at. So this is... That's not what I'm looking at. That's what I'm looking at. This is the roster, apparently, for 2K23. This is all the superstars, legends, and DLC. So, oh, there it is. 250. 250. I mean, any game that's got Bad Bunny in it twice is not going to get bought by me. That immediately is enough for me to go, yeah, I'm out. But we've got, what's legends? Let's have a look at the legend. Oh, yes. Now, oh my God, Bobby the Brain Heenan. Andre the Giant Batista, Beth Phoenix, Big Boss Man, British Bulldog, Brett. Doink. Let's go. The Living Legends. Harley Race. A couple of Hogans, Eric Bischoff, China. Jake the Snake, that's cool. Kane, look at these, there's just loads. Molly Holly, I mean, there's no Duke the Dumpster Drosy, but a couple of Stephanie McMahons, couple of Shawn Michaels, Rowdy Roddy Piper, $1 Million Man, Prototype John Cena, couple of Undertakers, Ultimate Warrior, Umaga, I mean, Super Cena, Icon Randy Orton, Leviathan from OVW, Batista, of course, Bobby the Brain as manager. Amazing. So this was last year. What's the new list? So these are people that got dropped. These people that got dropped in afterwards. Cody Rhodes. Was he not in the original game? Ezekiel. Clever. Molly Holly Queen, Zelina, Reggie, Rick Steiner, Scott Steiner, Shanky. These aren't very exciting, are they? Uncle Howdy, that's all right. Solo, Tiffany, Zeus, random. Wendy Chu. I bet she's quite fun, actually. Yeah, I get the appeal of the game. I don't play the game myself, but I get the appeal. Of course, I've played many wrestling games throughout my time, so I get the appeal of the game. I don't get why it matters who's on the cover, and I think we've gone past the point where the roster reveal really matters. If they're on the roster, they're going to be in the game. I suppose it's just if you're a diehard Bastion Booger fan, if you're a diehard Paul Burchill fan, keeping the fingers crossed that's going to make it. You know, if you're a diehard Hornswoggle fan going, this is going to be the year, then maybe that's why the roster reveal would matter. But if they're on the roster, they'll be in the game. EA Sports, it's in the game. Wrestler Andy said, when do you think Priest will cash in? He might get close to doing it at Money in the Bank in Canada. Well, I mean, it's very difficult because there's so much unknown, isn't there? You know, we've spoke a lot about the fact that we don't know who's winning the Rumble because we don't know what the main events of WrestleMania are going to be. I'm working on the premise that we're doing Rock Roman. There's been teases for that. I know that Cody's story is important. That can be kicked down the road, right? Cody's story is important, and it is the more satisfying story. But it is also something that can wait for SummerSlam if it has to, right? I know people would want it to end at WrestleMania, but I don't think there can be too many complaints if they're going to give you a Rock versus Roman instead. So I'm working under the premise it's Rock Roman. So I think if we're going to do that, then I think that you might want to have Damian still have it, because I think there's a chance that Roman retains, and then maybe we could bring Damian down. Maybe he fails his cash-in at WrestleMania. Perhaps Roman gets past The Rock, and then Damian tries to cash it in at WrestleMania, but fails because of Finn Balor. You know, and maybe then that means that after WrestleMania, we can start looking at the Judgment Day imploding. I think I proposed something similar the other week and said maybe we do it just before so that then we could build to Damian against Finn at WrestleMania. which you could. Or you could do it at the show. Like, it's one of those where I think there's so many options. Defcon said he would have it happen at Raw. He would do it at Raw. He would do it during Seth's announcement. You know, there's lots of times where I think you can pull that trigger. I think, for me personally, I've always liked the idea of it still being around WrestleMania. I think I only really care about that, though, if Cody's going to win the title or trying to win the title. I think I want to, if I've said before, I want to put as many obstacles in Cody's way that is humanly possible. I want it to become, like, just unfathomable how many more obstacles this guy has got to try and overcome to get to that title. I want this to be one of the hardest climbs to a title ever. And they've done a pretty good job. If you think that he came back at WrestleMania 38, had to go into a trilogy of matches with Seth, which resulted in him tearing his pec, which resulted in 6 months out, which resulted in him having to come back in the Rumble, win the Rumble, go to WrestleMania, lose against Roman, then go into a program straight away with Brock Lesnar, right? Then get into a whole thing with the Judgment Day over the summer, then recently get into a program with Shinsuke Nakamura, like, and now he's got CM Punk back, so all of a sudden the Royal Rumble's become a million times harder to win. So he's got all these obstacles, all these mountains in his way that I think they've done a good job of it. And now we've got Rock, who's also sniffing around. So I think we're in a great place with WrestleMania and the Rumble and not quite knowing which direction it's going to go. And I think that I would just keep building that. I would just keep, you know, this is why I'm not eager for Damian to cash in soon, because I want to keep it around as long as I can to make it as difficult for Cody for whenever that's going to be. Now, granted, if Cody's going to compete for the title at SummerSlam, well, then all of a sudden, Damian having the briefcase doesn't matter as much because he can't get in Cody's way, because he can't have the briefcase till SummerSlam, because someone new will have it by that point, because we will have gone past Money in the Bank again. So, you know, this is where it makes it difficult to say when he should cash in, because it really depends if Cody's going to be at WrestleMania competing against Roman, because I would want to keep Damian with the briefcase for as long as possible, as close to WrestleMania, so that we can put as many obstacles in Cody's way. You know, imagine Cody going into that match with Roman, having to worry about beating Roman, dealing with the bloodline, and then having to worry about Damian Priest as well, right? If he can overcome all of that and end the WrestleMania as champion, that's a lot that he's overcome. And I like throwing as many obstacles in his way as possible. This is the point I made earlier about if I don't think he should win the Rumble, but then I wouldn't have him win Chamber, because I want to throw obstacles in his way. I want to kick that can as hard and as far down the road as I can. I want him to scrape in last second. I want it to be like done, dead. It's not happening. Everyone online's talking about, like, you know, Cody's going to have to do this at WrestleMania. He's going to have to do that at WrestleMania. And then, oh my God, big announcement. Such and such is injured. There's now a gauntlet match. The winner will face Roman in the main event of WrestleMania. And it's like, all of a sudden, everything's back on the table and it's come out of left field. It's come out of nowhere. I would love that. I would absolutely love that. I would love for everyone to get swerved, thinking it's going a certain way, and then you just pull the rug from underneath them. So this is why I wouldn't have him win the Rumble. It's too obvious. I wouldn't have him win the Chamber, because I think that is the next obvious thing. I would then look for the next alternative after that, or even the next alternative after that. And as I said, kick that can as far down the road as I could. And also have Damian with his briefcase, ready to strike, ready to make it even more difficult. So, very difficult one to answer, because there's just a lot of unknowns. William said, I'm a fan of the creator wrestler function. I always try and make myself and not exaggerate in my attributes. I give myself all the low blows. My finisher is the shattered dream and a rear naked choke. How about Brock versus Gunther? Yeah, I'd love it. I think that we should see Gunther eliminate Brock. I think Gunther eliminate Brock because I think that's a big statement. I think that if he eliminates Brock and then makes it, say, to the final 2 and then gets eliminated by CM Punk or something like that, I mean, Gunther is one of the favorites to win. I think if he gets rid of Brock Lesnar, Brock can then come after him. Brock can come after him and then boom, that's it. We're done. We're on the road to WrestleMania. I think if Brock eliminates Gunther, that's okay. That's fine. You can do it that way. But I much prefer the visual, if you will, of Gunther eliminating Brock. I think that is a good visual. It's sort of like the arrival of a new monster, a new beast. There's a new guy in town that's throwing Brock Lesnar around. Whereas Brock eliminating Gunther is a bit like, yeah, of course he did. Like, yeah, of course that's what happened. So I would go that way round with Gunther eliminating Brock and then build into a match at Mania. I love it. Yeah, I love it. Sammy will eliminate Drew from the Rumble. Maybe Sammy could be number 30. Well, this is my point about, I think, putting the belt in the Rumble is a good shout because, as the comment was made earlier, Elimination Chamber not having Roman and not having Seth is a little bit of a problem. So I think, yeah, this is an opportunity to put the belt on someone. I think also I love the idea of 30 people competing for a title. I love the idea that Sammy now has got an opportunity to be champion. And because this wasn't meant to happen, because this was out of left field, unplanned, right? Not in the script, I think that anyone could win it. We don't know what they have planned because it was not planned. So it makes it very interesting because what if they decide, let's go with Kevin Owens? I mean, they could go, let's go with Kevin Owens. It'll lead to that. It'll lead to this. He'll lose it at Mania against such and such. Like they could go in so many directions. So many directions. You could have anyone winning the Rumble. You could have Sammy winning it. What an amazing moment that would be. Sami Zayn as the champ goes into Mania and then loses it to Gunther. Why can't you do Sammy Gunther at WrestleMania? You absolutely can. You absolutely can. I know the plan would probably be Brock Gunther, but it's Brock Lesnar. You can do Brock against anyone and it's going to be a big match. We did Brock Omos last year. We could do Brock against anyone and it's a big match. So Gunther, Sammy for the title is absolutely a match you could do, and it would bang, and it would be amazing. And Sammy would have had a run with the title, and it's a great way to get the belt onto Gunther. So this is my point. Like, if you put it in the Rumble, anyone can win it, and you could go in any direction. It's just literally, it comes down to what do they want to do? Which direction do they want to go? The thing with wrestling, historically, it's always felt a bit predictable because it's always been very obvious who they're pushing and the direction we're heading in. And because there's so much going on right now, it doesn't quite feel as obvious. The one thing that kind of stands out is we're going to do Rock Roman at some point this year. That is clear. And the other thing that's clear is Cody is definitely going to finish his story. I've got no doubt about that. I've never doubted that. I don't doubt that. That he is going to finish that story. I don't know that it's at some point this year, but I think it will be. But really, outside of that, there's so many moving parts. We've got 2 world titles, the undisputed, that gold one, and the world heavyweight title. So with Seth's injury and CM Punk being around, and Randy Orton being back, and potentially a Royal Rumble where the belt could be on the line, and Gunther sniffing around, and LA Knight's popularity, and this new version of Drew, this new version of AJ Styles, like Triple H has done an excellent job of making a lot of people feel like credible challengers now. There's a lot of people that feel like they are just within touching distance. There's a lot of people that feel like their time could be next. And what's brilliant about that is it just makes it impossible to predict, because it could be any of those. It just really depends which way Triple H wants to go. Trent, shout out to you, bud, said, I feel like we've done the Gauntlet story with Kofi. I feel like the best thing for Cody is to wait until WrestleMania 41. Well, it is true. The Gauntlet story was done with Kofi, but that is from WrestleMania 35. I think that it doesn't have to be a gauntlet. The point is, I wouldn't do the Rumble. I wouldn't do the Chamber if we're going to get Cody at WrestleMania. If that is the plan, right? If it is to be this year, then I wouldn't do either of those. So we need to find an alternative. So it would need to be a gauntlet, or it would need to be a battle royal, or it would need to be something in order to get him there. The bigger point is, I wouldn't do Rumble. I wouldn't do Chamber. Those are the two that people are expecting. Swerve them and give them something they're not expecting. Give them something else. So it could be that, as I said, the winner of the Chamber is injured, and then we do a six-pack challenge. We do a fatal four-way. We do a gauntlet match. We do a battle royal. Like, whatever it... We do a tournament, right? Whatever it might be. We do something that it was not planned or not expected, not announced. And that's how we choose Roman's challenger. So I would look at something like that. Wait until WrestleMania 41. We could definitely do it. There is an argument for doing it because of Roman beating Hogan's record, which is something people are interested in. I'm not bothered about that, to be honest. I was not bothered about him reaching the 1,000 days, and I'm still not bothered about that. And I'm not bothered about him beating Hogan's records. To me, he got to a point where he was already amongst the longest reigning champions, and it doesn't really make any difference to me if he's fourth, if he's third, if he's fifth. Like, he'll never be first. They are not going to have him beat Bruno's records. So, to me, if he's not going to go on and become the number one, like, and so he's going to finish at third or fourth or whatever it might be, the difference in it is it doesn't mean anything. Like, to me, like, he's got the 5th longest world title reign. Okay, is that any different to him having the 4th longest title reign, 3rd longest title reign? Does it make much of a difference? Does it matter? To me, he's already in the conversation. If you get to that top, I don't know, 10, maybe top 5, you know, maybe if it was you go from 6th to 5th and now you're in the top 5, maybe there's a bit of something there, I don't know. But I wouldn't keep kicking it down the can just to do that. I wouldn't prolong this bloodline story, which I think has started to splutter. I wouldn't prolong that just to break another record. So if we're going to do it, can we reinvigorate this story? Can we really, maybe the plan could be that Solo steps up to Roman and we do Solo Roman. But then people are going to say this is very similar to when Jay turned on Roman and we did Roman Jay. We did that last year. Now we're just doing Solo Roman. And so, I don't know. It's a difficult one. I can see why you would want to do it, to have him break Hogan's records. This year's WrestleMania is already cemented if it is to be Rock versus Roman. And then, you've got yourself a monster main event for next year with Roman and Cody. But I don't know. How would people feel about that? I think that's a very good question. And let's ask that question to the chat now. How would you feel if Roman kept the title till WrestleMania 41? How would you feel about it? Would you like it? And he loses it there to, say, Cody? Or would you hate it? Is it time for us to move on? Do you know what? I love the question because I genuinely don't know the answer. Do you like it? Or do you hate it? I suppose the real answer is it depends how they book him over the next 12 months. But to me, if they were going to book him the same as they've just booked him since WrestleMania 39, then no, lose it. Because I don't think this has been very good. I don't think this past 12 months between WrestleMania 39 to WrestleMania 40, I don't think that's been that great for Roman. He still feels like the big unbeatable champion, but I was not massively into him and Jey Uso. It had some nice moments, but I didn't think that Jey was going to be the one to get the belt from Roman. That didn't feel like Jey. It didn't feel like Jey was going to do it, right? And that was his SummerSlam thing. We haven't seen him at Survivor Series. He faced LA Knight, and it didn't feel like LA Knight was going to beat him. I didn't sense that we were going to have the title change there. As we said, he wasn't at Survivor Series. He did a tag match for the tag titles against Sami and Kevin Owens. And again, that was in a storyline, but I don't know. It's not been as good as him facing Drew at Clash at the Castle, or him facing Sami at Elimination Chamber. You know, the stuff that we did before WrestleMania 39 was better than the stuff we did after WrestleMania 39. So this is why I'm saying, for me, we're spluttering with him now. It feels like we've sort of told the bulk of the story that we wanted to tell, and now we're just trying to prolong it. We're just trying to stretch it out. We're just trying to get to the next WrestleMania or the next SummerSlam or the next whatever. And, you know, I think he had 11 matches last year. And as we said, at least one of them was a tag match. And it's not really, I don't know. So for me, I suppose it comes down to the booking. How are we going to book him over the next 12 months? Russell Andy said, how far into a title reign would Roman need to get before you would want him to beat Bruno's records? I would never want him to beat Bruno's records. I would never want him to beat Bruno's record, because I think that WWE is... it's constantly moving forwards. It's constantly moving further away from its origin. So WWE is constantly bringing in new stars. If you watch wrestling now, I could understand if you're a kid thinking this is the best it's ever been. When you're a kid, everything's amazing. And so, you know, Roman Reigns, oh man, he's the best champion ever. Seth, he's the best ever. You know, Becky's the best female wrestler ever. Like, you know, the Judgment Day is the best faction ever. Like, when you're a kid, everything you're watching here and now is the best that it's ever been. That's how I felt when I was watching in like 93, 94. This was the best. And I would go back and watch the old stuff and enjoy it and, you know, lap it up. Yeah, Hogan, all this kind of stuff. But, you know, I was never watching that going, oh man, it was so much better back then. I never ever used to think that, oh man, this is so good. I used to watch it and enjoy it and just consume it and love everything. But, you know, if you used to ask me who my favorite wrestlers were, well, it was always the wrestlers I was watching week in, week out. My favorite wrestlers were like Undertaker. My favorite wrestlers were like Shawn. They were Brett. You know, the people I was watching on TV. My favorite wrestlers weren't Haku. Like, you know, they weren't Paul Orndorff. They weren't like Rowdy Roddy Piper, because they weren't on TV at the time I was watching. So it's a bit like people, you know, love music that they listen to in their generation, and they think this is the best music's ever been. Whereas you and I probably think music when we were young is the best it was ever. So, you know, it's the way the world works. So I think that the more we move away from the beginning of WWE and how it started, the more that we are, you know, add into that history. I think there's something really nice that probably the biggest record in WWE, probably the most important record, is the longest reigning champion record, right? You could make the argument that WWE have actually shifted their focus a little bit to the number of title reigns. So how many title reigns? 16-time champion, 17-time champion is what someone needs to become to break that record. WWE have sort of shifted their focus to that because they know that beating Bruno's records is not a viable option. So I think that they've kind of changed over to that now, where it's the number of title reigns that counts more than how long you had it for. When you really think about it, if you're a 16-time champion, that means that you've lost it like 15, 16 times, right? So you've been defeated a lot of times, whereas Bruno held that for 7-odd years, 7.5 years, and wasn't defeated throughout that time. I mean, if he had been defeated 20 times and won it back 20 times, he could have been a 20-time champion, right? So I kind of think that Bruno's record to me is the ultimate record because he was champ and he stayed champ and he didn't lose and he stayed on top. The reason why that 16-time champion thing matters is it shows that you was always around the top. You can't lose a title and then win it back, lose a title, win it back, if you're not always going to be in the conversation. You are clearly a top superstar if you are competing for the title. And if you do that 16 times throughout your career, it shows that you are one of the greatest of all time, clearly. So it is a record that still matters. But I would say that Bruno's record matters more because he was the champ and stayed champ for 7.5 years. So he was the top guy constantly and didn't lose. And I know that it's down to the booking, but that's just an indicator as to how strong of a wrestler he was, like how popular he was. They didn't have to do it. They didn't have to take the belt off him. I know it was a different time, but they didn't have to take the belt away from him in order for him to then win it back because the fans loved him, that he was loved. The fans bought tickets and kept coming to see him compete. And they didn't have to do things like taking the belt off him because the fans would still just come and they would still buy tickets to see him facing his next challenge. And they did that for over 7 years. To me, Bruno is something very special. I think he was special. I think that period was special. And I think that it's great that we've got something that we can still talk about and go back to, which is really the very beginnings of WWE. Because before that, it was Capital Wrestling, and that was part of the NWA. So, they were kind of within that family of wrestling companies. As soon as in the 60s, they break away from the NWA and they become their own promotion, like they stand on their own 2 feet. That really is the birth of what would go on to become WWE. So as we know, Buddy Rogers was the first champion. Bruno won it from him. Bruno then holds it for 7 years. For me, that's something that is special. It's important. It goes right back to the very beginning of the company. It really speaks volumes of Bruno. It speaks volumes of the history of the company. And I'm not eager to erase that. I'm not eager for that to just be eclipsed. That's not a record that I care about seeing ever get beat in my life, because I love Bruno. I love the history of WWE, and I think that it's important that that still shines bright as a beacon for people that want to talk about wrestling and discover wrestling and fall in love with wrestling. You can go back and discover a lot in the history of WWE by exploring Bruno's history and going back to the 60s and kind of working your way through, And obviously we're blessed with the network as well. So, and actually, it's funny that we're talking about this because there was a tweet that came out, which I am really excited about. And I know a lot of people won't care, but I care. And it was a load of matches have been found. I will show you the message. Look at this. Here is... Boom. So, this from Wrestling Playlist, I think I've uncovered about 200 to 250 matches from the 50s and the 60s that aren't in circulation. I'm comfortable putting them on YouTube, so look for uploads to start later today. I'm going to keep going as a thread, and I will link them as they come up, right? So, little housekeeping. This is a newsletter. We blah 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 blah. Right? Okay. If you want to subscribe to them, there you go. But look at this. I mean, we have got like NWA from what year was this? I don't want to get hit with copyright strikes. But does it say on the title? No. Does it say down here? Oh, here we go. This is better. 1951 NWA Los Angeles. 1954 NWA Chicago. 54 NWA Chicago. 54 NWA Chicago. 50s Southwest Sports. 50s Angelo Poffo, which is Macho Man's dad. We've got this is the one that caught my eye. This is the one I was excited for. Sonny Boy Cassidy versus Farmer Pete. Okay, means nothing to me, to be honest, but Capital Wrestling, 1950s. So that is going to be WWE in the 1950s, and as we said back then, that's when they were part of the NWA. So their champion was the NWA champion. And, they would go around all the different territories. They'd go to New York, they'd go to Florida, they'd go to Texas, they'd go to Georgia, they'd do the circuit. The champion would, and that was the champion. And so, like, back then, this was basically the New York territory, Capital Wrestling. And from that is where WWE grew. So this is basically 1950s WWE, and you just cannot find any of this on the network. You just can't find it. It's just there's no stuff around. I mean, there's the odd little bit which pops up here and there. So for this to be discovered, I mean, I haven't even watched this yet, but I mean, there's a shot of the crowd here in this little thumbnail, which every moment of this is just going to be fascinating. From the crowd shot, from the ring setup, from the ring steps, from what the ref's wearing, from the introductions, from what the ring gear looks like, what the entrance gear looks like, what the move set looks like, how long the match runs for, the lighting, the production. Every moment of that is going to be absolutely fascinating to watch. I think I've got a good idea as to how it's going to look, because I've seen matches from this era before, and how it's going to sound, and I don't know if there'll be commentary. I'm guessing there will, but it won't be modern commentary. It'll be from the time. So even what the commentators are talking about is going to be interesting. So again, this is just an absolute... If you're a real diehard wrestling fan, you want to go back to the old days, the post-war stuff. This is a gift. This is a gift from the gods. 200 odd matches that have been discovered from the 50s and the 60s that, are not to have believed to have been seen before. Oh my God. This is the stuff that gets me going, man. Even Sean Ross Sapp, hell yeah. Hell yeah. So, yep, she's competing as well. Looking forward to seeing her match. There's a load of people queuing up at GameStop because they think that these matches are going to be on sale there. There's some footage from one of the matches. Yeah, we've got a lot to get excited about. But I'm a big stan for the history of wrestling, so for me, I'm not eager to see Roman beat that record, and I don't think he'll beat that record anyway, so it's not something I need to worry about. Something else I don't need to worry about is R-Truth. Let's pop him on screen, shall we? See what R-Truth's got to say. This is a great little clip. Really love this. So this is R-Truth. Let's play it and see what he says.
Hey. What's up, everybody? Hey, I want to give a big thank you to each and every one of y'all that sent me the birthday wishes. That was a warming feeling to my heart. I really appreciate that from all of y'all. And I definitely want to give a shout out and say thank you to my family. I received some birthday cards. Miz, bro, I appreciate the card you sent me. You know what I'm saying? I don't know who wrote this. We got to work on the Judgment Day's handwriting. I don't know who wrote that, but from the Judgment Day, you know what I'm saying? So I really thank everybody that chipped in and made this birthday what it was. And as we say in the Judgment Day, live, laugh, and love. Hey.
Live, laugh, love. Live, laugh, and love. Did you see that on the envelope it was signed Tom and Nick Mysterio? That was written on there. I mean, my guess is that he wrote those two himself. And I'd imagine that's a little dig, actually, at The Miz. My guess is that, because if you looked at the handwriting, it was quite scrappy, it was quite messy. So my guess is that he got one of his kids to write those cards. And so he's actually recorded it, put it on the internet, and he's kind of said to The Miz, thanks for the cards. But actually, it was one of his own kids that's written it, and the handwriting looks great. I bet Miz has gone, oh man, you've done me dirty there. Everyone's going to think that's my handwriting now. So I think that's what he's done with both of them, actually. But he put Tom and Nick Mysterio on the envelope, and he was just celebrating his birthday. So we are seeing more of these little clips kind of coming out on social media. R-Truth killing it, of course. But there was a clip also earlier today from Austin Theory, and he was talking about like challenging and going up against Carmelo Hayes, and the fact that like Grayson Waller didn't understand how busy Theory is, and he said that he will still attend and will be there, but he's had words with Grayson. So they're kind of furthering, or not furthering, but adding a little bit more weight to some of the stories by using social media. Just like that one there, you know, that you don't need to have watched that, right? It doesn't really add a great deal, but it just continues to add a bit more weight to the relationship between R-Truth and Judgment Day. And I think it's a really good way of using social media. They are standalone clips that are entertaining to watch, give you a little more context, but you don't have to have seen them. And I think that that is a great way of using social media. So I don't know if this is some sort of message that's gone out to the talent. Use social media this way. Create these kinds of videos. This is, you know, this will be good for engagement. This will be a good way to reach your audience. It doesn't interfere with the stories, because you don't want them saying something in these videos that then doesn't marry up to what's actually happening on the show. So you do have to be careful. But, I mean, there's nothing there that's wrong. It's just a bit of fun. And the same with the Theory one earlier. There's nothing there. And we saw that Drew one. I don't know if we played that. I think we did on one of the streams, where he had a message for CM Punk and was sitting down in a ring, and he was kind of cutting a promo. And it was just a little bit more to what he said to Punk's face in the ring. Again, wasn't left field, wasn't anything unusual. It was just a little bit more. So I really like how the superstars are using social media at the moment. And actually, look, just to give you another example, I haven't even seen this one. Here's Roman. In my honest opinion, it might be in your best interest to focus on 3 elite level superstars trying to take your title live this Saturday. So this is a Roman TikTok talking about not liking Nick Aldis. I don't like him. I don't like Nick Aldis. We're going to figure him out. We're going to fix him, says Roman. So apparently that's a Roman TikTok that's doing the rounds. So yeah, there just seems to be a few of those kind of clips at the moment. Oh, hello. Big E being asked about returning to WWE. I don't have a timeline, unfortunately. That's TMZ, and it could be correct. That could be true. But keeping the fingers crossed that he's swerving us there and that we see him on Saturday. But it's nothing more than keeping fingers crossed, unfortunately. Right, how long have we got? I think we're pretty much out of time. We said we would do an hour, and we've done an hour and a half because we're goats. So let's get a few final thoughts. We'll blast through, and we'll wrap this baby up. Johnny said, do you think since Seth is injured, they're going to do CM Punk versus The Rock versus Roman versus Cody 4-way? I don't think they'll do that, no. I think that's too many eggs in the basket. Brony said, I don't mind Roman holding the title until Mania 41, but what happens with Cody? Will he really not finish the story this year and have to wait another year? Well, that was what was proposed, just so, you know, and it is true. If it is to be Rock versus Roman, then that would mean that Cody would likely do it at SummerSlam. And that might not be satisfactory for some. Some people might feel that Cody has to finish the story at WrestleMania. It's got to be WrestleMania. For some people, it's WrestleMania or nothing. I wouldn't mind it being SummerSlam. I think SummerSlam's a massive, massive show. I think that you do SummerSlam a disservice by not giving it those types of moments. It will always be seen as not good enough if you always book it as not being good enough. I think if you want to change that perception that SummerSlam is absolutely a place where things like this can happen, then you have to make things like this happen at SummerSlam. So for me, SummerSlam would be fine, but for some, it has to be WrestleMania. And I think the bigger thing is that Roman could beat Hogan's record if he goes till, I think it's September. So obviously, if it's going to be WrestleMania 41, then that would be past September. He would beat Hogan's record, and Cody could then finish his story at WrestleMania 41. I don't mind which way they go with it, to be honest. I would be fine with SummerSlam, but as long as the booking for Cody was strong and the booking for Roman was strong, I can wait for WrestleMania 41. It's fine. If you think about it, Cody came back at WrestleMania 38, so it's almost been 2 years since Cody came back. So what's another year of waiting? I've said as well, like, the money is in the chase. Once Cody's champion, whole different ball game then, you know? All of a sudden, you better have some good, strong challengers and creative, because the money is in Cody trying to finish his story. Everyone's so focused on that. Finishing the story, I'm gonna finish the story, blah, 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 right? That's what everyone's focused on. What happens when he finally does it? When he finally does it then start to drip away and drop away? All of a sudden then, does it start to become less appealing? Does it become less urgent? Like, does the support for him just dip down a little bit? I've said before, when Daniel Bryan won the title after WrestleMania 30, it did feel different after. He wasn't actually champion very long, so I'm sure we could have worked it out, and I'm sure we could have done some good stuff. But for that immediately period after, there was a good little celebration, and then he was just champion. And it was done. That chapter was closed, and we now was moving on to a different chapter. So it's kind of like starting a whole new adventure. And so we didn't really get a chance to get our teeth into that before, you know, his injury kind of showed itself. But yeah, this is why, for me, if we do wait to WrestleMania 41, I don't think it's a problem, but the booking had better be good. Because I don't think the booking for Roman has been that great over the past 12 months, and I don't think the booking, well, it has been before WrestleMania 39. After WrestleMania 39, I haven't been as crazy about it. But the whole Sammy turning on him stuff, oh, God, amazing. Amazing. Cody being his challenger, yeah, brilliant. But the stuff he's done after WrestleMania 39, not as compelling. And I sort of feel the same about Cody, to be honest. You know, his feud with Brock was fine. It was fine. I preferred his feud with Seth, but his feud with Brock was fine. His feud with Shinsuke was good. But that whole never-ending Judgment Day thing was not really for me. I mean, it was fine at first, but it just kept going on and all that kind of stuff. I kind of feel like Cody, yeah, the booking for him has been fine. It's done what it's needed to do. It's kept him in the mix, kept him around the top of the card. But it does feel like we're just spinning our wheels in the dirt, you know? It's like we're having to find stuff for him to do because it's not the right time for him to be champion, if that makes sense. It's just like, what should we have Cody do? Let's give him Brock. Let's give him Judgment Day. Let's give him Shinsuke. Let's give him such and such. I want it to feel more part of the story rather than just, yeah, give him that for now. That'll kill a few months. I want it to be a bit more satisfying than that, to be honest. So, yeah, I would be torn on it. I'd be torn on it. I think if I was to vote, I would probably vote for Cody to just finish his story at SummerSlam. Because to me, SummerSlam's not a problem. SummerSlam is only a problem if you make it a problem. Like, if you say SummerSlam's not big enough, then it's not big enough. But it should be big enough because it's been around since, what, 88? You know, it's one of the longest running pay-per-views. It's the party of the summer. It tends to have like a good 60,000 people now. It's a stadium show. It's I mean, that one where Brock came down in the tractor, I mean, it was amazing. For me, that's should be fine. Fine place for him to finish the story, SummerSlam. I know it's not WrestleMania, it's 20,000 short, and it's not WrestleMania, but that's fine. SummerSlam is still a very, very important show. Very, very important show. So I would be all right with that. But if we do end up waiting, as long as the creative's good, then fine. The Bloodline story's gone a bit stale. If Roman is going to hold the title for another year, then they need to do something to freshen up the Bloodline. Maybe solo Roman feud. Yeah. Mitchell said, what's another year? Roman defends the belt like, what, 4 times in a year? It has nothing to do with Cody at this point. Roman is never there, and he's still getting credit for this historic run. James said, how do I get back online for PS5? James, I don't know. I don't have a PS5. Some of us aren't that fortunate. The Chief's gonna win, said Ronnie. Johnny said, why do I feel like WWE has disrespected Bray by not making him the cover this year? I don't know, because it doesn't matter. Bray being on the cover, not being on the cover makes no difference whatsoever. I said earlier, whoever the cover star is, it's just marketing. This is a thing that the companies do to hype up the game. It's not about respect, or I don't even see it as an achievement. I don't even see it as a thing. It's you could put Ray on. Ray has been on the game. He has been on the cover. You could put Ray on the cover. You could put Kevin Owens on the cover. You could put Roman on the cover. You could put Bloodline. You could put AJ Styles. You could put anyone on the cover. You could put all of them on the cover. Look at Fight Forever. Fight Forever's got, like, you know, loads of top end names on. They could just put like the Rumble, where it's got loads, like 30, 40 superstars on the cover. Like, you don't have to just choose one. You could have loads with the logo in the middle. So they are making it a thing because they want you to talk about it to hype up the game, right? It's just hype for the game. That's all it is. It's just hype for the game. So to me, it doesn't make any difference whatsoever. There's no disrespect to Bray if he's not on the cover. If it did matter, right, then I would say don't buy the game. Let's see if the companies still do it then. If it really matters who's on the cover, if the person you want, like Bray, isn't on the cover, send him a message saying I was going to buy this, but I'm not now because Bray's not on the cover and I think it's disrespectful. And we'll see if they do this next year. We'll see then if enough people were to do that, if 2K would hype up who the cover star is next year, if people then start not buying the game. But the truth is, they will buy the game because this does not matter. This is not a thing. It's just a way of hyping the arrival of this game, which I haven't got a problem with. I know it seems like I do. I genuinely don't. I'm not bothered. I really don't mind. It's their game. They can hype it and build up the excitement for it, and people seem to be biting and seem to be taking part in this. Hence why we've put it as the thumbnail, because lots of different names keep trending on social media because people are speculating who it's going to be. So clearly they have made this a thing where this generation do care about it. But to me, I don't give a flip who's on the cover of the game. Just put the logo on the cover of the game. Put an empty ring and the logo and like some fireworks, or like how about the crowd? A shot of WrestleMania with the logo on the cover of the game. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. So I don't feel that way at all. But I would be fascinated to know if people did feel that way, if they sent enough messages saying I'm not going to buy the game now, if the companies would still promote the cover star and all that kind of a thing going forward. I bet they wouldn't. Defcon said, do you know about the Madden cover curse? It's scary. No, I also don't care. I'm guessing that's like whoever's on the cover is like gets injured or something. Coincidences. Ronnie said Cody should fail more times than he succeeds at this point. He needs more adversity before he gets to the title. That is true, actually. I agree with that. I think that he's been put, a lot of stuff's being put in his way, and I'd like to see him stumble a couple of times. I actually thought he should have lost to Shinsuke. I think him losing to Shinsuke made sense because he didn't need to win that. Because if the plan is that he was going to finish the story this year, well, then losing to Shinsuke probably isn't going to derail that, because he'll win whatever he wins. Be it the Rumble, be it the Chamber, be it a Gauntlet, Battle Royal, Fatal 4-Way, Fatal 5-Way, whatever, right? If he's going to finish the story, he's going to win something that's going to get him into a match with Roman, right? So him losing to Shinsuke is not going to derail that. Shinsuke needed the win more than Cody needed the win. And I was a bit disappointed that we didn't give Shinsuke the nod, because I think that when Cody becomes champion, Shinsuke then immediately can have a shout of going, I beat you. Do you remember I beat you? 1, 2, 3. That means you're not the rightful champion. I'm the rightful champion. And then we do a Shinsuke Cody match with Shinsuke being one of the only people that's beat Cody for the title. And to me, that would have made sense, but they didn't go that way. And I agree, he is overcoming everything that's being thrown in his way, which is why I think him not winning the Rumble makes perfect sense. You know, that will be something that has not gone to plan. And him not winning at WrestleMania, the more that we look back on it now, the more I actually like it. At the time, I didn't mind it at the time. The only thing I didn't like was how down he was. And it's a bit of a bummer, because like that's how Clash at the Castle ended. A bit of a... Oh. And WrestleMania and... Oh, okay. An Elimination Chamber with Sammy. Oh, I wanted him to do it. But Triple H is seemingly all right with having shows end with that, kind of mentality. Because I think he knows that all of those are really just adding to the moment of when Roman does lose. It's just going to make it an even bigger moment. You know, there are no guarantees that this is going to end well. There's no guarantees of that, because Triple H has shown you time and time again, I will end these shows on a downer. I've got no problem doing it, right? And to make matters worse, I'll even have Tyson Fury sing. Yeah? Oh, so if you thought it was bad before, I'll have Tyson Fury sing. So yeah, I think that he's in a good place in regards to he's right in the mix. But he does keep overcoming the odds again and again and again, apart from failing at really, that failure at WrestleMania is his only blip. Yeah, he's tearing his pectoral, you know, was clearly not part of the plan, but he did it at the perfect time, because he got 6 months off and then came back at the Rumble and won it, and then was straight into the WrestleMania. So even that was as perfect as it could have been. So I agree with you. I would also like to see him failing, which is why I want him to lose Rumble, and wouldn't have him win Chamber, and I'd keep trying to put obstacles in his way, and make it as difficult as possible. Okay. It'd be a great angle if Cody is on the verge of pinning Roman at Mania, and then Dustin jumps in, breaks up the pin, claiming he did it because Dustin should have been the world champion first. I do love that, you know. I do love that. The only thing I would say is, how many chances is Cody going to get in the main event of WrestleMania? I mean, it can't be that many. So... maybe you don't do that one at WrestleMania. Maybe that one could be somewhere else. But I do love that, because Dustin being jealous does make sense. There's two ways you can go with it. You can go with him being jealous, or you can go with him being supportive. I love that idea. But I also am on board with the idea of Dustin being the one that deals with Solo. You know, so Solo is ringside. He's going to get him interfere, and then out the crowd jumps Dustin Rhodes. Not today. Bang. And then he smacks Solo. Screams to his brother, finish the story. Cody nods. It's him and Roman. I mean, the moments that you can make by having Dustin involved, you know. And as I said, you could go that way, or you could go the other way where, you know, Cody's dealt with Solo. He's dealt with Jimmy. It's down to him and Roman. Someone comes through the crowd. Who's this? Reveals themselves to be Dustin Rhodes, his brother. Cody looks at him, and then spear, or whatever it might be that Dustin hits Cody with, or a low blow, or whatever it might be. Clothesline, whatever. And the crowd just like stunned, shocked. And then, you know, I mean, their match actually in AEW is still one of the best matches in AEW history. Cody Rhodes against Dustin Rhodes. Still one of the very, very best matches. So I don't know that Dustin's capable of that now that we're a good few years past that. But if he was, Cody versus Dustin in WWE would be amazing. I mean, Dustin, I don't know when his contract's up. I don't even know if he wants to come back. And I don't know that that's the story he would want to be a part of. You know, he might want to go the other way and be the supportive brother, because he certainly is showing that on social media. He is very supportive in his messages online. So he might want to be the supportive brother, which you could understand, you know. He might not want to be portrayed as the brother that's jealous. He might want to be more portrayed as, I can help a Rhodes win a world title, and I would rather be an element that assists in that rather than hinders that. I don't want to be the reason a Rhodes doesn't win a WWE world title, you know. I want to be a reason that helps. I suppose what you could do is you could have him prevent Cody, do the match, Cody show that he's the better man, handshake and an embrace after, an emotional moment, and then when you get back to that match again, this time Dustin appears again. Oh no, not this again. But this time he helps Cody. And that could be a good story as well. So you could actually do both. You could do it where he hurts and hinders. They leads to a feuds. Emotional. Cody's the better man. Wins the feuds. Hugs. Tears. And then you go back to it. Oh my God, he's going to hinder him. He actually helps him. None of that's going to happen. But it's nice to think about. So, yeah. I like it. I like it. Dragon said, I want Randy to win the Rumble. Turn heel for a huge story with Cody. Roman fights The Rock. Randy fights Cody. CM Punk fights whoever the current world heavyweight champion is. Well, do you know what? I actually don't mind that. The one thing I'm not keen on is Cody fighting for the world heavyweight champion, and we spoke about that at length earlier in the stream. I'm really not keen on that, because as I said, for me, finishing the story is getting the WWE championship. This world heavyweight championship muddies the water, so I'm not keen on that. So there is a theory going around saying, how about Randy versus Cody for the world heavyweight championship? Not for me. But Randy, Cody, their history, them having a match at WrestleMania, I have no issue with that. No problem. As long as there's no title involved, I think that there is definitely a story that can be told there. They're two top superstars. And if Cody is going to have to find something else to do, I think that's a perfectly acceptable alternative. So I don't mind the match. It's just I don't like the World Heavyweight Championship being involved in it, so... Dragon Knife, I am with you on that. Punk would fight whoever the current world heavyweight champ is. David said, please don't book Brandy to take out Solo. No, but could she deal with Naomi? If Naomi comes back and joins up with Jimmy, could it be a case that we do need a female to just get Naomi's attention? And so I must admit, I would not hate Brandy grabbing Naomi. Naomi like trying to trip over Cody. The guys have been dealt with. Naomi's come down. She's a heel. She's with the bloodline. I think her being with Jimmy, being in the bloodline, a female in the bloodline, could be really interesting. Could really bring some life to the bloodline story. And all of a sudden, then the bloodline can start going after like the women's title. Naomi could be going after that. I mean, if Bayley beats Io. If Bayley wins the Rumble, goes on to beat Io, becomes the champion, Bayley's going to be bogged down with damage control. But that would then also be a babyface for a heel Naomi to go up against. So face Bayley against heel Naomi, and heel Naomi being aligned with the bloodline, I don't think that's a bad direction. And so someone would have to deal with her for Cody. It could be someone like Bayley or someone like that, but this is where I don't mind Brandy grabbing Naomi by the hair, yanking her over the barricade, just wailing away, right? She's not a wrestler. She's not someone that's going to be a problem for Naomi, but could she blindside her and just, occupy her long enough for Cody to get back to it being a one-on-one match? Like, I really don't mind. I think part of the story is, for Roman, is how he has been champion and how people have interfered on his behalf, and the baby faces have never had an answer for it. So, you've got Jimmy, you've had Jay, you've had Heyman, you've had Solo, like you've had so many people interfering in matches, and the baby faces always get on the wrong end of it and always lose. So if someone's going to beat Roman, they've surely got to have a plan for the bloodline. And this is where I really like the Rhodes family, or what is left of it, helping Cody even the numbers. I don't want them to help Cody win it. Cody has to do that on his own. But there's a big difference in making it a fair fight compared to helping him win, right? I don't want Brandy to come and trip over Roman and, that lead to Cody winning it, because then it'll feel like, oh, he only won it because Brandy got involved. I don't want that, but I do want any people at ringside to be dealt with. I don't want Solo to be allowed to get involved. I don't want Jimmy to be allowed to get involved. I don't want Naomi to get involved. I don't want Heyman to get involved. They're going to need to be dealt with. So who deals with them? This is where Dustin Rhodes is just a gift. Because if we could get him, and we won't, but if we could, what a story. What a story. And if Brandy could just grab Naomi, blindside her. I don't want her coming down face to face. Naomi is a wrestler and Brandy is not, right? But if she was to be in the crowd and grab her and pull her over the barricade, just start wailing away, as I said, keep her occupied. Just do enough so that Naomi can't get involved in the match, right? Maybe Brandy runs off and Naomi goes chasing after her. She's dealt with. She's out of the equation. She's gone. All of a sudden now, it is Roman, it is Cody, it is mano a mano. It is best man wins. And we know many times in the past, had it have got to that situation, Roman would have lost the title. He wouldn't be champion. And if we can get Cody to that position where it's mano a mano, best man wins, I feel very confident Cody finishes his story. So I've said before, for me, Rock Roman is the big razzmatazz match, right? It's the big attraction. It's the one that's going to get the most eyes. It's the one that's going to get the most clicks. It's the one that's going to get the most views. It's not the one that's the most satisfying. The one that's the most satisfying to me is Cody finishing the story. And I think there's lots of really emotional moments that you could put into it. There's lots of little things that can be around that match. Not even that, I've said before, but that moment where he gets the belt, looks at the heavens, there ain't going to be a dry eye in the house. There is not going to be a dry eye in the house. And then if you sprinkle in some of this other garnish as we build to that moment, Rock Roman can't compete with that in regards to emotion. I think Rock Roman is a great match, a big attraction. It's going to get clicks, it's going to get views, it's going to get engagement, it's going to get people talking. You totally get why they're doing it, right? It's a no-brainer. It's just free money. It just prints money. It just, like, so many people buy WrestleMania Peacock tune in. It's a monster. But to me, Cody finishing the story is the one that I care about a lot more. That's the one that I think is a lot richer. So, if Bayley doesn't win either the Rumble or loses against Rhea, she is kicked out of Damage Control. Else she faces Io and it's still ejected from the faction that she built. Yeah, I think she will be kicked out. Yeah, I think we are heading towards her going, which I think is going to be good. What was that? Simple said... Oh, it's gone. Oh, there it is. What are your thoughts on Grimm's wrestling show, GTS? Will you be streaming Grimm Mania, said Simple. Sadly not. I really like Grimm. I really, really like Grimm, so I've got nothing but good things to say. I've never actually met Grimm. I think we might have exchanged a DM once, twice in like 8 years. I've told this story before, but the one moment that I really stuck with me was, I think he sent me a DM at the end of 2018, and he was like, "Oh, mate, are you going to be at the 2K launch game at the Performance Center?" And I was like, no, sadly not. I'm in the UK, so, you know, that's not an invite that was extended to me. Plus, I don't cover the game footage anyway. And he was like, oh, that's a shame. Me and a few others will be at the Performance Center. I thought it'd be great if we could, like, just catch up in person. And he just completely reached out of blue. Completely out of the blue. I didn't message him. I didn't comment about anything. I didn't mention him. Just completely out of the blue, he sent me that message. And it just sort of stuck with me. Wow, you know, that's amazing. For someone of his size, you know, I mean, I don't know what he was on then, probably about 800,000 subs or whatever. And I was probably on 90,000, something like that. For him to reach out and be like, oh, it'd be great for us to meet up and everything was just really, really cool. Really, really cool. And yeah, I thought that was great of him to do that. But I've admitted before, like, I don't get a chance to watch GTS. I think you would have to follow it week in, week out, wouldn't you? It'd have to be a show that you would watch in order to appreciate it. I don't know that it's... I'm sure you could just watch the odd episode, but I suppose it's like most things, like WWE, like TNA, like Impact. If you're going to watch it, keep up to date with it, know all the characters, know the wrestlers, know the ins, know the outs. And so it's just not something I've ever been able to get into because of time. And you know, I like his vlogs, I like his toy hunts, his figure reviews, and the stuff he did with figures was obviously a big influence on me. His toy hunts were a big influence. The reason I started collecting figures was because of him. I saw one of his videos where he showed off his collection, and the figures, he showed all the Mattels with the belts, and they were stunning. And I remember seeing the belts going, I didn't know they were that good now. I didn't know the belts had got to that level, because the old Jax belts were not painted and they didn't look as good. Whereas these just look like, you know, forget buying replicas, just get the figure ones. They're amazing. They're bang on. Like the little ones now, the little that come in the figures, it's a much cheaper way of collecting the belts. And they look fantastic, and you get a wrestler with them as well. So that really like blew my mind, and from that, you know, really got me back into getting wrestling figures again. So I have nothing but great stuff to say about Grimm. And but no, I don't get a chance to watch his show. I wouldn't be able to commit to watching his show. So I've actually never seen any of the Grimmomania stuff, but I am aware that he's had people like MJF and Chris Statlander and Priscilla Kelly, who's now Gigi Dolan, and Christian, Thunder Rosa. Who else has he had? He's had a fair few. Tommy Toy Travels was in one of his videos in GTS. And so he's had, like, you know, a fair few people that have gone on to, like, big things. So clearly he's doing something right, and he's got, like, some really good stuff going on over there. So I'm sure it's brilliant. I have nothing bad to say. But no, it's not something that we tend to cover, unfortunately. My time is very much taken up with WWE. Dalwin, shout out to you, bud. Really appreciate the support. You've jumped in at the right time. I keep trying to find ways of ending this stream, but the conversation just keeps flowing like fine wine, and I can't step away. I also wanted to do the looking at the Instagram pictures, but we've run out of time for that, as we've already done 2 hours. So you know what it's like when we're chatting. So we'll do this, and then we are going to run away. I have things to do. I've got to do Rumble predictions and stuff like that. And I wanted to cover a couple of other little quick things. So Darwin said, it's all about Seth tomorrow for me. My head has been everywhere since the Seth news, but we need to know and hear from him. Is he available at Mania 40? Is he going to be there? He has no choice. Triple H will make a tournament for the world title at Chamber. Hang on, I don't quite get that last bit. So you're asking, is he going to be there? If not, will Triple H make a tournament for the Chamber? Well, do you know what? That's not a bad thing, because if you're Triple H, or if I'm Triple H, it is a gift where the Elimination Chamber becomes important, because it's now going to be for the title. And we spoke earlier about how Roman's not going to be there. And if Seth is injured, Seth is likely not to be there. And it's bad not having either world champion in Australia, because 60,000, you want to take your big stars, and to not have the world champ there is a bit of a downer, right? So I think that them doing some sort of tournament with the final being at Elimination Chamber, or one of the chambers actually being for the World Heavyweight Championship, is perfectly acceptable. If that is the direction they were to go in, you could understand why they were doing it. You could understand, and you'd be like, makes sense, because they need something big for the chamber, and they, you know, crowning a new champion is about as big as it gets. You are going to see a new world champion at this show. Do not miss it. Someone is going to become the new world heavyweight champion. And we've done that before, of course, where the chamber's for the title. So, you know, it's not uncharted water, but I can't escape the fact that for me, there is something so special about the Rumble being for the title. I think the direction I would rather go is make the Rumble for the belts, crown the champion there, and then have the champ just defend it at Elimination Chamber in a title defense. Yeah, okay, it's not quite as exciting, but I just think that it's the right way, because the Rumble has got 30 people in. Any of them can win. And I know that, you know, Otis is not going to win it, right? I get that. But if we book the Rumble right, you could put in 30 people. We could find 30 viable people that could win. There are so many names right now that are in the conversation that absolutely could, you know, I don't want to go down 30, but, you know, you've got Cody, you've got CM Punk, you've got Gunther, you've got Brock Lesnar, you could put Solo Sikoa in there. If Solo was to win that title, that wouldn't be a massive shock. Yes, he would have to leave SmackDown, but we are going to have SmackDown superstars in the Rumble. So, you know, if they win, we just make it very clear there will be a trade. So that means that the Bloodline would lose Solo, and Solo would then go to Raw, and someone would be traded over. And that could be very interesting. That could be very interesting. You know, you could have Bobby Lashley. He's a former champion. You could have Sammy. You could have Kevin. Like, the list goes on and on and on. So I think that 30 viable options for the title, and we don't quite know which way it's going to go, could result in this being one of the greatest Royal Rumbles we've ever seen. You know, a lot of people say 92 was the best because that was for the belts, and it is a Hall of Fame lineup. The people that keep coming down in 92 are just, it's a who's who of WWE Hall of Fame history. And I can't see why, with the amount of talent that we've got on the roster right now, spread across Raw and SmackDown. And do you know what? You could even chuck in NXT. I mean, if Bron Breakker was to be in there, I can't say that he's not a viable alternative, because he is someone that we are expecting big things from. He's someone that seems to just be spinning his wheels. What if he just came in and won the world title? What if he just came in and just became the new champion? We just saw Obafemi do that. He just won the breakout tournament and became the North American champion. So what would stop Bron from coming up and winning the Rumble? And here's Bron Breakker, the new world heavyweight champion, a brand new player in the main event scene. I don't think it's going to go that way. But I'm just saying that we've got an opportunity to create one of the greatest Royal Rumbles ever. And I think I'd rather do that than put it into a chamber, because chamber's only 6 people, and we've seen that before. And it's great, but it's not as great. It's not as great as putting it in the Rumble. So of the options on the table, I think I would rather go with put the vacant belt in the Rumble, winner becomes champion, then that person defends it against a very good challenger. We'd have to find someone good, be it Brock, whoever, at Elimination Chamber. In fact, that would be good. Imagine if it was CM Punk versus Brock at Elimination Chamber. Imagine that. CM Punk wins the Rumble, wins the vacant World Heavyweight Championship, and then has to defend it against Brock Lesnar at Elimination Chamber, and then goes to WrestleMania to defend it against Gunther. Don't know. I'm sure we can find some really good challenges for him. But again, I don't want to get too into the weeds, because it could go this way, it could go that way. The title might be vacated, it might not be vacated. Seth might keep a hold of it. It might be put in a tournament. It could be put in the Rumble. It might be put in Elimination Chamber. Tomorrow's Raw is going to clean up some of this. And of course, the Royal Rumble is going to clean up a little bit more. By this time next week, we're going to have a much better idea as to where we're actually going. So I'm very, very excited for what's going to happen over the next 7 days. And we do need to end there. Although Rob said, Daze, if the Rumble is for the title and they announce that tomorrow, surely that changes the Punk Cody segment, because Cody won't want to win the Rumble as much for that title. Well, I don't know, because I think it has to. That's a good point, but it's a difficult one to agree with, because you're right, but you can't be right. Like, you're right because it's not the belt Cody needs, but it's still a world title, isn't it? It's still a world title. It's still one of the biggest prizes in WWE. He would be silly to not want it. He would be silly to not, if the opportunity was there to win it, he would be silly to not try and win it. But you're not wrong, because it's not the belt he needs. So it's a real messy situation. If the belt was in the Rumble, Cody would have to make it clear as to what winning that would mean to him. And what I would want him to say is, I would want him to say, winning this doesn't finish the story. That would still be my ultimate goal. But what this does is it shows I belong. And it shows we're on the right path. And it makes a Rhodes a world champion, something that has never been achieved before. Winning this is huge. Let's not get it twisted. Winning this matters. Make no mistake about it. I would need him to say that. Right? I would need him to say and confirm it does not finish the story. I don't want to change the narrative. I don't want us now to make out that this is finishing the story, right? If he goes, I've got an opportunity to finish the story by winning the Rumble, I might literally throw up, right? Because winning a belt that was created out of thin air last year, right, and has just been called the world title, that's, you know, it doesn't have any history. It doesn't have. It's still in its early days. It's got no heritage. It's not the belt that his dad was competing for. It only arrived last year. So if we're going to change it now to this would finish the story because it's a world title, that's what my dad tried to win. I can deliver a world title. Yeah, but you can't deliver the world title, can you? You can't deliver the WWE Championship. That's the one your dad was trying to win. So it's a real difficult one because you're not wrong. You're not wrong, but I don't think Cody can go in going, not bothered. Not bothered. I don't care if I win or not. It's not the belt I want. You're going to have to find a way of making it seem like it matters. They would have to. And he would have to come out with something by saying, it does prove that I belong. It does matter. But I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you. It's not the belt he needs. But to be honest, I don't think he wins the Rumble. I just need him to tell me it doesn't finish the story. Please confirm that, right? So that we're all on the same page, right? And also that he does want this and it would mean something, right? And then, as we said, I don't think he wins the Rumble. He's third favorite. I don't think they would give him this belt anyway, so I don't think we would have to worry about it. It's just we would need to know that he does want it so that, you know, you root for him when he's in there. Because if he goes, oh, I'm not bothered, when he comes out, people will be like, oh, he don't care about this anyway. He's not bothered if he wins or not. And that can't be right. That can't be the right mentality. So, and I don't think he would unannounce himself for the Rumble either. I don't think he would turn around and go, nah, I'm out now. Now, I thought I was main event in WrestleMania, but now it's for a world title. I'm out. That doesn't make the world title look very good, does it? So you're in a catch-22. You're kind of stuck. You're kind of stuck. It's not really the belt he needs. He's going to have to try and make it seem like it's something he still wants. And he's going to have to still be in the Rumble and he still wants it. And it's going to, you know, you're going to have to do some heavy lifting in that segment. If Seth comes out at the start of Raw and says, I've got to vacate the title, I've spoke to such and such, it's going to be made available, the winner of the Rumble gets it, that Cody CM Punk segment just becomes even more interesting. Because right now, that segment is them going, we both need to finish our stories. We both need to win the Rumble. Like, we both have got, you know, paths that we're on, and winning the Rumble is going to get us where we need to be. That's the conversation, isn't it? They're both going to say they respect each other, but, you know, all's fair in love and war. The segment's going to be that. If the belt is on the line and it's not about main event in WrestleMania, that segment does change. You are absolutely right. It does change. And it changes in a way that's very hard to predict what gets said and how they approach it. So, I mean, what I would say is, thankfully, if there is any thankfully in this situation, but thankfully, this injury has not happened today, right? It's not happened at a house show. And it's like, oh my God, have you heard what's happened to Seth, right? So thankfully, they've had a week to really think about this. Like, this is top of the agenda, right? I know that he's had to go and get checks and all this kind of stuff. I'm sure that's delayed it a little bit, but at least they could start thinking about what they want to do. So we're not going into Raw without a plan. Right now, I've got to think they know exactly what's being said in them segments right now. And I've got to think they know the direction they want to go. So it's not rushed. I think it's been thought through. I'm fascinated by the segments. I know that tomorrow's Raw is going to be a monster. And there's going to be so many people that are going to be tuned in for it. It's. I said before, it's unmissable. I really, really, really do not say that very often. I really do not say that very often. It is unmissable. It changes potentially the whole build for WrestleMania and potentially changes WrestleMania as well. Tomorrow's Raw, which is a go home, and normally go homes don't mean diddly, but this potentially changes everything. Gianna Forever said only Drew or Damian could be the new champion. Only Drew or Damian could be the new champion. What do you think they make that match like now a number one contenders match? Don't think I would do that, only because Damian has got money in the bank, so he can sort of cash in to be champion anytime. So I sort of feel like he doesn't need a title match because he's got one. He's got one in his hands. He can call for it anytime. So I don't think we really need to hand him one, because he's got one that he can cash in. I mean, really, the way that you should do it is you should say, I would like to have my match for elimination, please. Elimination Chamber. And so you hand in the briefcase, they book the match, and off you go, right? But obviously, it became apparent very quickly that you can just choose your moment anytime, even when the champion has been beaten up, and go, I want it now, I want it now. And so obviously that's how everyone does it now, right? But technically, he has got a title match whenever he wants it. So I think of all the people to give a title match to, I wouldn't give it to Damian because he's already got one whenever he wants. I think it should go to someone else. And I think that, again, bringing me back to the Rumble, I'm very fixated on the Rumble. I think part of it is because the Rumble in 92 is like my favorite Rumble. I love that Rumble. Everything about it, from the commentary of Gorilla and Bobby, from the Hall of Famers that are in the Rumble, from some of the moments in the Rumble as well, to the winner, the promo after with a tear in my eye. It's just goated. It's just goated. And the fact that we're sat here with a potential opportunity to do that again in 2024 is very, very tasty. Very, very tasty. Didn't we do this in 2016 as well, actually? Didn't the winner of that get the belt? I think they did. I think Triple H, the winner of the Rumble, got the title. And I think Triple H won and won the title. That wasn't as good. But let's ignore that one. Let's remember 92. 92 is what we're basing this on. Right, let's end that poll, shall we? Do you think we'll see Christian and Edge in WWE again? Yeah, I think the door's always open for them. I don't think that door's closed. Once they're done with AEW, I think that WWE will always welcome them back because there'll always be money to be made. You'll always sell Edge merch, Christian merch, Edge and Christian merch, Brood merch. They're legends. They are known by all the WWE fans. You could use them in backstage segments. You could use them as ambassadors. You can use them for, like they did at shows on the network, if ever you need to go back to that. Edge and Christian's show, totally awesome, whatever it was. Totally awesome show. So, yeah, Edge said that he doesn't get the tribalism because he said, that people in WWE are pleased for me that we've got this opportunity. I think he's probably right. I think genuinely WWE couldn't find a way of using him full time and having him around the title picture and giving him what he wanted. I think WWE saw him as, we'll bring you in for Mania, we'll bring you in for SummerSlam, we'll do like this and this, whereas he wants to be there week in, week out, catching up on, the years he missed, really, in his career. I don't think WWE could do that for him. And I think AEW can. And I am stunned that WWE were fine with him going. I am shocked that even if they couldn't find anything for him, that they did not move mountains more to make sure he didn't go to a... You would think that even if they couldn't find stuff for him, they would find stuff for, or they would pay him enough money where it wasn't a problem, or they would do something. Like, there must have been an answer. I don't know. I don't know how much they agonized over losing him. I hope it was a lot. I hope they agonized a lot, because it was a gamble. It was a hell of a risk, you know, to lose one of your biggest names to your biggest rival. Clearly, it has not worked out very well for AEW, right? It's not moving mountains for them at the moment. So now you can look at it and go, yeah, fine, okay. He's gone over there. It's not resulted in any drama for WWE. They've now got to pay a massive wage bill. He's off WWE's wage bill. They didn't have anything for him anyway. The roster's stacked in WWE. So we would have loved to have had him around, but we just could not give him what he wanted. But he says that WWE have just been, they understand, and they've just been really pleased that he's got the and I'm sure they are. I'm sure they are now. Now that he's gone there and the dial has not moved, I'm sure they're over the moon, because all of a sudden they don't have to worry about trying to fit him in, right? Which was never going to be a massive problem, but I think that they've got so much talent, WWE, right now, that trying to figure out how you fit Edge into it is just another issue to try and figure out, and so they don't have that issue. I think maybe for a while Edge just has not moved the ratings like they thought he would. Perhaps the indicators have been that Edge just hasn't quite, I don't know, grabbed the imagination like he did back in the day. I think he had a great return, and I think that he got involved in a few stories that were all right. I mean, he did set up the Judgment Day, but the Judgment Day weren't as good as they are now when he set them up. You know, they've kind of grown as time has gone by. And he was around like Dominic turning. He was part of that. So, you know, he's been involved in some good stories and done some decent stuff, but maybe they saw enough to know that the dial was not being moved anymore. And so they thought to themselves, okay, we can run the risk of letting him go. We don't think the dial will move. They can book him. He can be happy. They can pay his wage, which I'm sure is not a small wage. And we don't think it's going to result in, you know, massive ratings for them, but it could. And so far, it hasn't resulted in massive ratings, so I'm sure they're thrilled. Right? I'm sure they are pleased for him. Ticks all the boxes. He gets paid. He gets what he wants. They don't have to pay his wage. They've got enough stars to get on with. Everyone's winning. Everyone's winning. The only people that aren't winning at the moment is AEW, because they're just not getting out of it quite, I think, what they were looking for yet. But they might do. You know, once this story has played out with Christian, you know, if you start to move Adam Copeland up around like the world title picture, start to put him in a different feud, start telling different stories, something that really grabs the imagination, they could still get something out of it. So it's not dead in the water. It's not a done deal. It's not, you can't say that this thing has permanently flopped. It just hasn't got off to, I think, the start AEW would have wanted. So I think WWE are going to be happy. I think Adam Copeland's going to be happy because he's getting to do what he wants to do. I think AEW probably have got a bit of a concern because it hasn't resulted in the ratings they want, but it doesn't mean it won't. It could still deliver for them, because just change the story, freshen it up, go in a different direction, do something else, and you know, you might be able to get something that clicks, and you might be able to get something that works. So yeah, I think he'll be back. I don't think there's any bad blood. I think he'll be back. A Jobson, shout out to you, appreciate the support. Dro said The Rock helping Roman at Rumble 2015 was a prediction for what's going to happen in 2024. Alid said, will Roman fight The Rock? We think so. It feels like it's heading that way. Some of the teases, just there's too much noise. It's too big. It's always felt like a match we were going to get. It was just when. And we thought it was last year. And The Rock even said it looked like it was going to be last year, but it wasn't last year. So now he's come out and said, shall I sit at the head of the table? And now we're hearing, that it's definitely a match that's in the works. It feels like it is heading that way, yeah. China needs to be inducted in the Hall of Fame, said Tony. I agree with that. Christopher, see you for Raw. Chester said, I think a few things are going to happen lately, like Punk, Rock, possibly a lot is changing. Do you think they put Bray in the Hall of Fame this year? That's a good question, Johnny. I think it doesn't matter, to be honest. I suppose I feel a bit the same about the cover of the game. The cover of the game doesn't make any difference to me. I don't care who's on it. And I don't mind if Bray goes in this year or not. 100% he goes in the Hall of Fame. But because he's no longer with us, I don't think it really matters to me what year it is. I feel like it needs to be relatively soon, I think that people want to celebrate Bray. And I think they got that tribute show, but I was not keen on the tribute show. I didn't think the tribute show was enough. I thought it was very lacking. It was just the bare minimum, really. People on the entranceway, what you would expect. Shot of a rocking chair. Few Bray moments dotted throughout the show, video clips. And I think the lantern at the end. There was no sit-down interviews. I think they did later put them out on YouTube, but they weren't during the show. There was, which I thought was missing. I would have liked to have heard from the superstars throughout the evening of what Bray meant to them. I would have liked to have heard maybe some stories that we'd not heard before. I would like to have seen maybe some matches that were connected with Bray, or I would have liked the whole show to have been given to him. I suppose in a way, the Brody Lee tribute show that AEW did, if you want to lay into AEW, that's fine. I think we try to be honest in our criticism about AEW. But I have nothing bad to say about their tribute show for Brody Lee. I think they absolutely nailed it. I think they absolutely got it right. Whereas I think WWE did enough to please the majority, but it did not scratch the itch for me. It did not satisfy me. I came away wanting much more. And I think that a lot of people feel that way about Bray, that we've still not really said thank you and goodbye in a more serious, weighty manner. Just a few superstars on an entranceway, a glimpse of a rocking chair, a glimpse of a lantern. This is why people want the Hall of Fame induction, because they want, I think, what wasn't given to them during that tribute show, which is they want to maybe hear from the family. They want to hear some stories. They want to see maybe some of the merch. Like when Undertaker went in, he had some of his old gear in the background. I think people want that. There was no Bray stuff. There was no Firefly Funhouse set. There was no puppets. There was no, I think there may have been a QR code thing they did, which was good. I think when you scanned that, it took you to some Bray clips, So there was some thought put into it in that regard. I will give them that. But I think people do want to pay respects more. To me, because Bray's not with us, it doesn't really matter if it's this year or not. If it's next year, that's fine. That's fine. I don't see it as if he doesn't go in this year, it's a big disrespect. I don't agree with that. I think because there's a chance that they already knew who they wanted in this year. There's a chance they already had an idea as to what they wanted to do. And so Bray just might not have been in the plans. They might be thinking to themselves, yeah, he goes in, we'll put him in for 41. Which, if that's the plan, fine. Yeah, okay. That's fine. We already had 40 planned out. Okay. Or, as I said before, what if the family just don't feel like they can yet, you know? What if it's still that, I mean, that little bit too raw? What if it's just still a bit too sensitive and they just need that little bit more time? I mean, I don't know how the family are feeling. I'd imagine they're devastated. I mean, it wasn't long ago JoJo put that message out saying we were meant to be getting married. You know, I miss you. The kids miss you. I mean, these feelings are always going to be there and it's always going to be raw. But again, what if the family just don't feel like they can right now? Because someone's got to induct him. And you would like for it to be like Bo that's involved, you know, or JoJo on stage, or IRS on stage. I would say it needs to be soon because I would like IRS, his dad, to see him go in. And I think the big thing I always hate about the Hall of Fame is when there are old legends that clearly are going to go in. And we seem to wait for them to pass before we do it. The one that comes to mind is Vader. Vader was ill. He said he was ill. He knew he didn't have long. And he was very clear that he hoped to go in the Hall of Fame one day. There is no universe in which Vader does not go into the Hall of Fame. He absolutely goes into the Hall of Fame, the WWE Hall of Fame. It's a no-brainer. And I remember for the longest time thinking, why aren't they doing it? Why aren't they putting him in? Year after year was going by and he was not getting put in. And then he passes away. And he finally goes in after he passes away. And you just think, like, you've denied him that moment of standing on stage and speaking to the fans and having that recognition, which you know would have meant a lot. And you've denied him that. And I don't know if there was bad blood. And I don't know if they were worried about what he might say. I don't think he would have said anything because he seemed to genuinely want to go in. And I think he would have respected, you know, the facts, you know, keep it, you know, clean or whatever, right? I don't think there would have been anything along those lines. Maybe that was a concern. That's the only thing I can think. Because there was no legal disputes or anything that I'm aware of. And as we said, he went in after he passed. So to me, the Hall of Fame is something which is very special. But if someone has already passed, there's not really a rush. The only rush would be for the family members to be present and be able to witness the moment, like his dad. And, you know, you definitely want him to be there for that. But I think for me, if he goes in this year, fine. If it's WrestleMania 41, fine. If it's WrestleMania 42... you know, you would start to wonder, why have we left it that long? Because if he don't go in this year, I can understand we already had it planned. If he doesn't go in at WrestleMania 41, you start to go, what's the reason now then? Why is he not? Because he's clearly a Hall of Famer. So why is he not part of that class? So then I would be a bit like, don't really get it now. Why are we waiting? But if then he goes in at 42, you go, okay, don't know why we waited a year, but fine, you know. So, but for me, it would have to be relatively soon. I don't see the point in waiting 20 years to put him in. What's the point in that? He's clearly a Hall of Fame talent. It's undeniable, right? Undeniable. I don't think you would find anyone that would have a problem with him going in the Hall of Fame. I would struggle to find anyone that would go, no, he didn't do enough, right? Talking about a multiple-time world champion, talking about someone that's captured the imagination of fans with the Firefly Funhouse, and even if you didn't like it, it's undeniable of its impact. And someone that had The Fiend, before that, the Wyatt family. Amazing. Amazing. And the fact he was able to reinvent himself from Husky Harris, something which was not a great gimmick, and then come back and reinvent himself in NXT with the Wyatts, and to, like, you know, find that kind of promo style, the rambling kind of promo style, to create that lore with all of, like, the Sister Abigail and, you know, the Black Sheep and the cabin in the woods and just everything that would go around that, you know? I mean, so creative, so much work that went into that character. I just can't see any reason why anyone would say he doesn't deserve to go in. So yeah, for me, it only comes down to, is it the right? Have we got like the class already sorted? If Triple H comes out, I think if he's not going to be part of it, it might be a good one. It might be a good question actually after one of the shows. You know, after Rumble, it could be a question where it's like, we will be announcing Hall of Fame inductees. A lot of people are speculating that Bray might go in this year. Can you give us any insight on that? That might be a good question, actually. You know how those questions are awful from the press at the press conference? Wouldn't it be nice if they asked something the fans are actually asking, actually wondering, right? Because if that question got put to Triple H and he was to turn around and say, yeah, I completely agree, Bray is definitely a Hall of Fame talent, but this year the class is actually already decided. So we already knew who was going in. We've contacted them. So those announcements will be coming out. So unfortunately, Bray isn't part of this class. But absolutely keep an eye on future classes, because if ever there was a Hall of Fame worthy superstar, Bray Wyatt is absolutely that guy. And I think that would satisfy everyone. I think everyone would go, got you. There might be like, oh, I can't believe it. There might be a few people that still do that. But I think by and large, a lot of people will be like, okay, yeah, got you. Let's see what you're saying. And then, you know, that conversation goes away for a year, doesn't it? And then when the announcements come out, people aren't waiting for Bray because it's already been addressed. So, you know, that would be actually a good question, I think, for a journalist to put to Triple H at one of those post-event press conferences. And as long as he goes in relatively soon, one of the next few years, then I'd be okay with that. John O said Vader was doing things like Table of Three with Sting before he passed. The bad blood was gone. He was on the network multiple times before he passed away. Well, that's even more confusing, isn't it? I don't understand. I don't understand. Yeah. I it's the one that bugs me. It's the one that really annoys me. And they have done it a few times. I mean, to be honest, you've got Demolition who are getting on. And they are clearly Hall of Famers because they had the longest reign in tag title reign until the New Day broke it. And now I think the Usos have broke it. But it was Demolition for like, what, 20 odd years that had that record. One of the most highly decorated, recognizable tag teams in WWE history. And they are Hall of Fame worthy. They were part of the concussion lawsuit, which obviously was not good. That was about 5 years ago now. But we're talking about a different company. We're talking about Vince being out the way. We're talking about Triple H being in charge of creative, and that concussion lawsuit didn't go anywhere. That's done now. And I just think it's a real shame that you've got people like them out there who I have no doubt will go in one day. They have to, really. Because you can't really have a Hall of Fame without Demolition, because they are just one of the most recognizable, important tag teams in WWE history. So they have to go. If you're going to put Queen Shamel in, you've got to put Demolition in. But because of the bad blood, they haven't gone in. And you can understand it, but considering everything that's happened recently with the new company, I hope they go in soon. Because it should be done now. It should be done. I understand the concern of what might they say, but surely that's a conversation that you have when you say we would like to induct you. I mean, listen, there was real bad blood between WWE and Bruno Sammartino, and he is another example of someone that I'm very confident would not have gone in the Hall of Fame before he passed if it wasn't for Triple H. Triple H has been taking dubs for a long time. He's a dub collector. He's a dub collector. He collects dubs. He goes around with his little bag picking up dubs. And there's a couple of dubs that he's got before he even touched the main roster creative, right? Obviously, his success in NXT. But as well as that, he convinced Bruno to accept a Hall of Fame induction. And he convinced Vince to allow it. Because Bruno was very outspoken, very outspoken about the direction Vince had took wrestling, with steroids, with scantily clad women, with the fact that it was like seedier than it had been in the past. It was good family entertainment before, whereas now it was becoming a bit like the Attitude Era and everything, and the direction it was heading in, with the bloods and all that kind of stuff. Like, he was against it all. Anything that was making it dirtier, seedier, he was against it, and went on TV and spoke out about it. Well, Triple H managed to mend that fence, build that bridge. Bruno went into the Hall of Fame. He didn't say anything bad during his... I think he said, like, me and Vince have an always tonight at high or something like this. Outside of that, he didn't say anything. Because it's such an honor to be recognized. And I feel like that's going to be the same for Vader, the same for Demolition. There's people that belong in that Hall of Fame that should go in. And I really hope they do go in. There's a good, healthy list, which is why, as I said, if they don't get to Bray yet, you can sort of understand if someone like Demolition goes in this year, or I don't know who else is not in. Some of those names like King Kong Bundy, Vader that we spoke about, British Bulldog, China. Some of them have gone in recent years. There used to be quite a healthy list, but I think we have actually slowly chipped away at it. But I think there's still some pretty big recognizable names that have yet to go in. So if Triple H is going to get more dubs by putting in some of those names that haven't gone in yet, that should have gone in, I won't be against that. I won't be against that. But yeah, he got big dub for the Bruno one, and it was Triple H that got Ultimate Warrior to come back and go into the Hall of Fame. That was a deal between 2K, Triple H, and Warrior. Apparently, they all were working together to get him to come back, and so he was in the advert for the game. And he went into the Hall of Fame. And, of course, he got the statue. And, of course, we've got the Warrior Awards. And so, there was all this stuff that came out of him. And, of course, what was amazing, he goes, was it in the Hall of Fame on the Friday? He was at WrestleMania on the Saturday. He did Raw on the Monday. And then he died on the Tuesday. Incredible, innit? Incredible. I mean, heartbreaking. But, again, incredible. I mean, he could not... I mean, he died the Tuesday of the weekend he went in, so you never know. You can't wait on these things. You've got to get people in as they're still around. So many stories and so much... It's their opportunity to say thanks to the fans. And, honestly, some of my favourite things to do is go back and watch old Hall of Fame inductions. There's so many good stories and so much you can learn. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. You can really, really get some good stuff out of those olds. Certainly if you go back to the Bobby Heenan, Classy Freddie Blassie. If you look at the 94 kind of, I think I might even have the DVD, They did release a few on the DVD, like the class of 94, and you get all of the, it might be on the network. All the inductions, and you get their speeches and everything. I've actually got the DVD somewhere. I think it is 94. Which would be the second year, because Andre was the first in 93. He was dead as well. Imagine if Andre had gone in and we could hear his stories. Oh. Dark Angel said, is Billy Gunn going into a Hall of Fame with DX the only time someone went in the Hall of Fame whilst being an active wrestler in another company? That's a good question, that is, and I don't think I'm going to be able to give you an answer. Name that comes to mind would be Jeff Jarrett, but I think he was... When did he go in? I think that... Because we have seen people go in when they've come back, I think that was above boards. I don't think I'll be able to think of another example of that. He went in 2018, Jeff Jarrett. And he was out of TNA by then. But he... yeah. Yeah, I don't know that would count. He was out of TNA, but he was making appearances with AAA. But I think he was pretty much free by the time he went in the Hall of Fame at that point. So, yeah, Jeff Jarrett was the name that came to mind, but I don't think it would count, to be honest. I think Flair was active wrestler in TNA when he was inducted with the Horsemen. Oh, that's an interesting one. That's an interesting one. Let's have a look, see when Flair went in with the Horsemen. I can't remember what year theirs was. Class of 2012 when he went in with the Horsemen. And what was he doing in 2012? Well, it says, on March 31st, 2012, while still contracted to TNA as part of a deal with WWE that allowed Christian to go to Slammiversary, Flair became the first person to be inducted into the Hall of Fame twice, the second time with the Horsemen. So I think you're right. So this is seemingly a deal where they could put Flair into the Hall of Fame, and Christian went over and appeared at Slammiversary 10. So good shout, well remembered. Second time with the Horsemen, and then it just goes on to what else he did that year. So yeah, according to Wikipedia, he was still contracted, and it was part of a deal to allow Christian to go the other way. Knowledge is power. Very, very good. Crispy Chris. I've asked an interesting question for a change, said Dark Angel. How is X-Pac in the Hall of Fame before Vader? It's a joke, said Ronnie. Yeah, I don't get too worried about this person went in before this person, blah, 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 because I don't really know how that would work. Because technically, wouldn't you just do it with, like, when you just work your way through the 60s and the 70s? And just kind of work your way through it that way and just kind of sweep up, like, you know, it's, I don't know, like this person going in before this person, like the sooner you go in, you don't get like a better spot or anything like that. So when it comes to like, oh, this person's in, but that person's not in, I don't know. Some of it is to do with politics. Some of it is to do with availability. Some of it is to do with, you know, are they in the good books? Or if they upset Vince, and you know, there's so many little factors. Some of it is like Batista. They tried to put Batista in during the pandemic. He said he'd go in, but then when everything got locked down, he was like, well, I don't want to go in without fans. So I think Batista is still technically not in, even though he's been announced. He has not been inducted. So again, you know, you've got quirky little things like that which have delayed Batista going. So you could say, well, why is Queen Charmel gone in before Batista? And it's like, well, it's not because she was better. It's, you know, it's, so you got little things like that that kind of come into effect. So I don't worry about, oh, we've done that person before that person. I mean, The Rock isn't in. The Rock's not in. But the reason why The Rock's not in is because he is not headlined. And you only have one headliner. So really, you need every year a big name. And so you have to, like, stagger the names, if you know what I mean. You can't put, like, The Rock and Cena and all these people in at the same time, because you're going to run out of big names for future classes. So you have to spread out those names as well. So that's another reason as to why certain people go in before other people. So I never get worried about that person winning before that person or anything like that. It's just, do they go in eventually, or do they go in when the people are still alive, like they should be? Triple H should be inducted now that he's retired, said Wrestle Andy. That'd be good. And do you know what would be good? If he got inducted as a surprise. That'd be good. I don't know how you would do it, because you would have a headliner, and then you would have Triple H. Do you know what I mean? So if you was the headliner that year, and then all of a sudden Batista, Triple H is surprised, then that would be... I suppose what you could do is surprise him with the induction, if you know what I mean. So he knows he's going to be at the show, the Hall of Fame, being inducted, but he didn't know he was going to be inducted. I love that. Could you imagine that? So, Michael Cole's like, now it's time to look at, our next inductee in the class of 2024. And then it's like Triple H video package. And then we do picture in picture where there's a camera in Gorilla filming Triple H's live reaction to finding out he's going into the Hall of Fame. And he didn't even know he was going in. And he's like, did you do this? And do you know what I mean? And we're in Gorilla watching his reaction as the video package. That'd be amazing. That'd be amazing. I'd love to see more of that. Knocking on the door, Congratulations, such and such. You are in the 2024 Hall of... No, am I? He deserves it, man. R-Truth deserves it. Yeah, I mean, that would be great. That kind of this is your life surprise type situation, That would be great. That, please. So, yeah, that would be good. Triple H should go in, but spring it on him. A fake Stephanie induction, and she announces she's not going in, but it's Triple H instead. So they say, how would you do that? So what would you do? Would he come out to congratulate her and then she go, actually, it's not me? And then show the screen and he's in the ring thinking he's supporting her and she's like, got you. And then they play him and he's in the ring. That could be good. Yeah, that could be good. That would be good. I'd be down for that. Yeah, I like that. I always thought they should do that with Vince as well. Vince refuses to go into the Hall of Fame, so just force him in. Just he's got to go in. I mean, I know there's the allegations and it's all a bit blah blah, but how does Vince not go in the Hall of Fame? I know that maybe the appetite for that over the past 18 months has dwindled, but going back before that, I thought it would always be cool if they sprung it onto Vince and went, we don't care what you say, you're going in. You better have some good stories. And I'm sure he does. Hayden said the 94 Hall of Fame was a condensed version of the ceremony, and that got added to the network due to the original ceremony only being partially recorded and not as originally intended to air. Oh, look at Hayden with the facts. Man, we learning. I am going to have a look at the DVD that I've got. Because I've said it's 94, but I also said I wasn't sure. But I am sure now. Boom. That's not what I wanted to show you. I wanted to show you... Oh. Hang on. Hall of Fame. I don't know why they didn't do more of these, to be honest. Because, well, I suppose they don't have to do them now. But, bang, bang, bang. Lovely. The DVD I was talking about is this one. Ba, 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 ba. Ba, 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 ba. What's it actually say? Oh, I think it's got some matches. That makes sense, doesn't it? That makes sense. So you do the Hall of Fame induction, and then you actually put 3 hours of DVD extras, which is matches from their career. So this is the DVD I've got. Hall of Fame, 2004. 2004. I was saying 94. I got the 4 bit right. So this is the DVD I've got, 2004 then. But it is Big John Sturd and Greg the Hammer Valentine, Harley Race, Tito, Bobby Heenan. We've got Don Morocco. We've got Superstar Billy Graham. We've got Jesse. We got Junkyard Dog. We got Sergeant Slaughter. Oh, it tells me on the back. And we have got Pete Rose apparently going in as well, who isn't represented there. And it's got like 3 hours of matches and everything on it. It's a good little set, that. What I mean, listen, it's the Bobby Heenan winning. Goated. So, yeah, 2004 is when I was thinking of. But I'll have to go and watch that 94 one then. Hayden said it went up, but it was condensed highlights. I'm going to have a look at that now. Let's go over to the WWE network and see if we can... Is there a search? Yeah. Hall of Fame. 1994. We still have the network over here, by the way. You lot still have you have it on Peacock, don't you? There we go. Look, Hall of Fame. Look back 94. 43 minutes. Look at this. Look back of 95. Only 24 minutes. Look back of 96. 47 minutes. 25 minutes. I mean, it's going to have been longer than that, isn't it? Heartbreaking. But then, as Hayden said, if they didn't fully record it, then, you know, it's been lost to the annals of time. But thankfully, at least they did record some footage of it. So we got 40-odd minutes of 94. It started in 93, but it was only Andre that went in, and I don't think there was actually a ceremony. They just said he was in. So that is going to be the first one. Proper one. This 94 one. Then you've got this 25 minutes of 95. Then you've got this 47 minutes of 96. And then I think it stopped, actually. I don't think they did it, like, throughout the Attitude Era. It was one of those, like, slammy situations where they sometimes did it, sometimes didn't do it. So I think it just sort of stopped then. And then they brought it back again. And I'm really pleased they did. I love the Hall of Fame. It's one of my favorites, moments. I love hearing the old stories and putting people in and seeing them get recognized. Love it. Right, we are definitely done. I should have gone hours ago. I mean, we started at 1. I think we've clocked in about 3-hour stream here. And, you know, I always start with wishful thinking when I have my little clock in the corner. I mean, I don't even know why I bother, to be honest. But thank you so much, everyone that joined. It's completely derailed my evening. I'm not going to get anything done now. But it doesn't matter, because we will be back tomorrow for a very, very important Raw. Unmissable. What is going to happen with Seth Rollins? I hope the dirt sheets don't spoil it. I really hope we don't know by the time we get into the show. But we'll see what gets said. That then is going to affect what Cody and CM Punk talk about. We've got Drew and Damian, which is a tasty match as well. And, of course, all the other little stories that are going on. Judgment Day, R-Truth. You know, as I said, it's going to be absolutely unmissable. I'm going to go off and start setting up a few streams, see if I can work on that little short video for the Royal Rumble. And listen, have a great evening. Thank you so much for the support. The only bits I wanted to say, the only thing I wanted to say is tomorrow, during the stream, I know many of you have started to send over things that you're seeing on X. And I really appreciate it, right? But I want to make sure that you get the credit. I want to make sure your name appears on screen for the unseen videos. And what has happened or has been happening is people will see something interesting and then they will tag me in it. But the problem is, what I see is you basically tagging my name. I have to click on the actual tweet, if you will, to be able to read that, right? It's a lot better if you quote tweet, because what happens then is you can tag me, but I can see the article underneath. So I get all of it. I get your name, I get you tagging me, and I get the article all in one thing. Whereas if you just see something interesting and just tag me in it, like in the comments of whatever you saw, all I see is just my name. I can the way, so I hope that's clear. As we said, just quote tweet because then I can take that, put it on screen, and you can get the recognition. And I want to make sure that you're getting mentioned and shown for your support in those unseen videos. So I think there'll be a lot of stuff, thoughts, funny memes, interesting bits circulating on social media tomorrow. So if you see it, quote tweet me in it at Wrestling Daze YT, and I'll bookmark it, add it to the video, and make sure that your name's shown, and give you a shout out, give you a thanks, and give you the recognition you deserve. So yeah, appreciate people doing that. We're starting to see more and more people kind of tagging me in bits and sharing bits, and it's just starting to become a bit more active over there, actually, which is actually really nice. Twitter for me it's actually like my third or fourth Twitter account, because I've shared so many links to these streams, and Twitter thinks that these are links to the shows. So my accounts keep getting shut down. I keep getting warnings. I keep challenging these warnings. Nothing happens. And then eventually, if you get a few warnings, your account is deleted. And I've lost about 3 accounts. My first account was on like 15,000 followers, subscribers, and that was about 4 years ago. And we lost that. And so we just have to keep starting again. So it's a very frustrating world, Twitter, for me. Very frustrating. So we've got a new sort of way of doing it now. I don't share links using that account. I've got a second account which I use to share the links, and that's why I do it, because if that gets shut down, I don't give a flip. But so hopefully that won't happen again. But it is nice to see it a bit more active, and yeah, appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Can we share it on the Facebook page, said Dark Angel? Sadly not, because the way that I do it, I found a system that works. The way that I do it is I actually bookmark what you send me. So if I see it and I like the thing and I think, yes, I can use that, I bookmark it, and then what I do is that puts them all in like a row. That anything you bookmark, you click on your bookmarks, and obviously all the tweets are there. So then what I do is I just take that and literally put that on screen. So if you share stuff with Facebook, it won't make it to my bookmarks. It won't make it over to that feed. So it won't work. So I mean, I suppose I might be able to go in, screenshot it, add it in a different way, but that's a whole different thing. We're not even doing that. We're just trying to bookmark the bits and bobs that are circulating. So it's just X at the moment, but maybe there'll be scope to introduce other social media channels as we move forward. But to be honest, we're still sort of finding our feet with this, because it was an accident. The first unseen video was literally because there was something shown in America that wasn't shown in the UK. And so it was like, this was unseen for many of us in the UK because it got cut, and that video was very well received. And so then I started to kind of go from there to then include like social media, and basically it's stuff that's not shown on the shows. Any reaction on social media, funny memes from social media, anything that kind of plays away from the actual show that kind of can give you a bit more context, give you know, like the R-Truth clip we just watched, like that sort of stuff. That's what I'm gathering together, and these videos seem to be very well received. People seem to enjoy them. I enjoy making them. I think there has been some really interesting stuff in them, so we'll do another one of those for after this week's Raw. I am going now. Thanks for watching. Appreciate the support, and I'll see you later for Raw.